Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, Dynamos, and all of you. You're welcome. Where are you? You're here at Gals, Gays, and Days, your favorite show and a live streaming show on YouTube and Twitch, and also a podcast near you. I'm JD Cargill. I am hosting your show today and every day, and but I'm not alone. I have my friends here, Mariah in engineering. What? Shout out to Mariah.
Hello.
Hello, hello, hello. And then on the sofa cam, we've got Christy McInnes from KCM Connect Corner with Christy. Woo! Yes, she's going to be giving you her best marketing and branding advice here in just a little bit. And then our Taylor, our new intern Taylor, that's your moniker, Taylor. New intern Taylor is always available to chat with you Dynamos in the live chat, either on Twitch or YouTube, as I said. Please don't be afraid to ask us questions. Gals, Gays, and Days is all about being in a warm and inviting space of safety and inclusion for people from all marginalized communities, including the LGBTQ plus community and women and everybody else who wants to be here. What are you guys up to? Let's catch up for a second before I get into these headlines. What is going on?
Oof.
Oh, Mariah, you first.
First of all, can we just shout out Ukraine behind Mariah? We're representing our Ukraine flag came in. That is so powerful. I know it's just a small little thing to, jump on Amazon and order a flag from a country that is being attacked, but it is something, it's
And I have been feeling that lately, like constantly seeing things every day and feeling hopeless, like what can I do to help? But we can talk about it. And
you're not alone. A lot of people.
Yeah, it feels weird like that we're able to watch a war happen live.
It's so, I think we talked about this a little bit before, but it's almost like video games and movies and television have desensitized us to the reality of what is going on. Like, these are not fake explosions. These are not CGI,
But it is weird when you watch, like, I'm sure all of us have seen footage of bombs going off in Ukraine, and you watch it and it's like, I know this is happening, but whoa.
We're not built to process it.
No, it's hard. It's the energy right now is rough.
Very heavy.
Yeah,
the
heavy.
weight,
That's
you
a good
feel
word.
it.
And it's Pisces season, so we're all in our emotions right now. And things are heavy.
Oh, wow, she's getting it back there.
Coming from a Pisces. So.
Well, and too, I feel like in times like these, you have to okay, if you're feeling like down and low, try to find something okay, maybe you're feeling low at work or low in some other part of your life. Find something that brings you joy. Maybe that's scheduling creative time on Pinterest or going to take a walk or instead of cooking tonight, maybe you go out, have those little moments of joy. Because I think people can kind of get wrapped up, and I know I can get consumed, especially when I watch too much of that footage. I just have to take a step back and be like, hey, right now I'm at capacity for what I can see along these lines, and I've got to go throughout my day. And I know a lot of people in Ukraine can't do that, so we've got a privilege over here, but trying to process it in your own way and time, and to not get fully consumed by it.
And give yourself grace. This is difficult for everybody. Nobody knows how to behave right now. This is unprecedented, for us to be able to watch a Europe-based war unfolding on the news. I will say some tricks that I've learned. First of all, if you want to feel like you want to do something, have you heard about Airbnb selling? You can go to Airbnb and book out places in Ukraine.
No
wow.
way.
So that the money gets funneled right to the people who need it. You're not actually going to stay, of course, but they were talking about lots of people are doing this, and it's making sure that a lot of these places, that the people that are still there have some source of income and revenue in order to, I guess, buy food and take care of themselves and everything. So
that makes a lot of sense, because I actually wondered that. I was one of my first thoughts was, okay, so this is happening. This is a lot of people's jobs that they're exploding right now. The companies are gone. How are they able to provide for their families? And so I knew there was a lot of the nonprofits and everything that we talked about last time, but that's actually so smart. And that's a very easy thing
that anybody can do, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
And also I think it's really important to try to focus on the good stories that are also coming out. There was this couple that had been together for 20 some years that just got married on the front lines. This proud husband and wife that both serve in the military in Ukraine. And and also I would recommend not watching the news constantly. The cycle of the news really doesn't shift over a day or two. Like it's every, I'd say, day and a half that there's an actual legitimate update. Otherwise, you're just seeing the same really difficult things over and over again, and it's heavy, and you poor Pisces out there.
Don't get me started.
Pisces.
It's always the energy just feels off.
It really does.
Yeah.
You know what doesn't feel off for us?
What?
Is the Rainbow Planet. This is when we do our headlines. We're going to do things a little bit differently today. We're going to give this a shot. I'm going to go through the headlines kind of like a newscast, where you'll hear some things, see some things, but it'll be kind of concise, and then we will save our analysis and debate for right after. So you'll get all the stories, and then following that. That way, if people just want the headlines and they're listening, they're like, all right, here's what I can get. This is digestible right now on my way to the gym or wherever.
Yeah.
And then if you want, you can come back later and check out the full analysis. That way, we're just trying to listen to all the feedback, and this is what we've been hearing. So, so why don't we get things started with the Rainbow Planet? All right. Allies of the LGBTQ plus community gathered outside Florida state capitol to protest the legislation officially titled the Parental Rights Bill. Darn it, my thing is not working. Let's give that another go. So here's what happened. I decided I wanted to start using a teleprompter, and everything was working fine 2 seconds ago. But of course, tech. So let's give this another go. Mariah, can we take this from the top again? I just want to make sure when we put this out that we're saving ourselves some trouble.
Yeah.
Resetting, everybody. This is live. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for the Rainbow Planet. Allies of the LGBTQ plus community gathered outside Florida state capitol to protest the legislation officially titled the Parental Rights and Education Bill, which is now widely known as the Don't Say Gay Bill. Supported by Republican Governor Rick DeSantis, boo. The bill is a perfect example of fear-based legislation. The bill would ban lessons concerning gender and sexual orientation in kindergarten through third grade. And not only does it make it illegal for teachers to discuss, for example, the gay parents of a particular student, it incentivizes parents to sue teachers who they feel are out of step with their bigoted beliefs. For LGBTQ plus people like myself and millions others around the country and world, the actions of the Republican-led state are tantamount to being told your family, your way of life, and who you are is so offensive and unacceptable, it isn't appropriate for the ears of a 5 to 8-year-old. That is rude and insulting. As you can imagine, the response and backlash to the bigoted bill has been strong. In fact, thousands of students from multiple Florida schools have held peaceful walkouts in protest of the bill. And that's not all that's happening. Our friends over at NBC, our essential SNL, you guys know Kate McKinnon. So Kate McKinnon poked fun at the Florida Don't Say Gay bill by performing a sketch in which she misunderstands the intention of the bill. Take a listen. Bravo, Kate McKinnon. Couldn't have said it better myself. I have to say that skit ends with Kate singing a song. Gay, 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 gay. She even has an air guitar. I love her so much.
The link's in the description for the video.
Much. Yeah, there you go. Links in the description. All right, third story. West Side Story breakout. Ariana DeBose, the first openly... Why doesn't this work? Sorry. My darn teleprompter. West Side Story breakout. Ariana DeBose is the first openly queer woman and first Latina performer to win an individual film prize at the Screen Actors Guild Awards. Woohoo! The rising movie star received the film honor for supporting actress for her powerful turn as Anita, that's my mom's name, in Steven Spielberg's West Side Story. DeBose also won the Golden Globe earlier this year, and she's been nominated for an Oscar. Earlier this month, DeBose also landed her first career Oscar nomination for her emotional performance as Anita and became the first openly gay queer woman of color nominated for an acting Oscar. DeBose and Spencer star Kristen Stewart also became the first openly queer performers nominated for an Oscar since Ian McKellen in 2002 for The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. Though he did not win the Oscar, McKellen did win the Supporting Actor SAG Award that year, making him the only other out actor to win an individual film prize from the Screen Actors Guild. And then DeBose said, "We are here and we are queer." That's what she said to Entertainment Tonight on the Screen Actors Guild red carpet, and then went on to say, "It is exciting and I'm very proud of these moments because I think they're indicative of the fact that they will not be the last." And I certainly hope you are correct. Hear, hear. Congratulations. Next up, Apple has developed a new Siri voice that doesn't sound obviously male or female. The decision to introduce a gender-neutral voice is one that sees the tech giant taking yet another step away from the criticism that historically digital assistants have reinforced unfair gender stereotypes. Over the years, industry observers and experts argued how the creation of, I'm so sorry, this teleprompter is a hilarious situation. I am just going to empower myself here, whoopsie, and read this myself. All right, let's start again. Over the years, Apple has developed a new Siri voice that doesn't sound obviously male or female. The decision to introduce a gender-neutral voice is one that sees the tech giant taking yet another step away from the criticism that historically digital assistants have reinforced unfair gender stereotypes. Over the years, industry observers and experts argued how the creation of voice assistants with female-sounding names like Alexa, Siri, and Cortana, which also speak with female-sounding voices, implied that women should be the ones to do your bidding and take all of your demands. A UN study additionally called out the female voice assistants and other submissive and sometimes even flirty styles that these voices maintain. This isn't the first time the lack of women in tech has been apparent. It took Apple years to realize that its health app should probably include a period tracking feature, considering it is a health measure relevant to about 50% of the world's population. Developer Steve Mosser found a reference to a gender-neutral Siri voice in earlier versions of the iOS 15.4 beta, and this week noted that the fifth American Siri voice was added to beta 4 with the file name of Quinn. Quinn, a name with Irish origins, is a well-known gender-neutral name that has been used over the years for both boys and girls. It's not a coincidence that it happens to also be the name for our new Siri voice. According to Apple, the gender-neutral voice was recorded by a member of the LGBTQ community, and here is what that voice sounds like.
Hi, I'm Siri. Choose the voice you'd like me to use.
It is pretty gender-neutral.
Yeah.
Listen one more time.
Hi, I'm Siri. Choose the voice you'd like me to use.
So that is the new voice of Quinn, an optional Siri voice for you to use on your Apple products if you have 15.1 or newer. All right. Next up, attention fans of unnecessarily banned books. Better Nate Than Never. Disney Plus has announced that the premiere of their new musical comedy following this book has been featured, Better Nate Than Never is a series of books that has been come under some controversy because parents have some concern that the lead character is questioning his sexuality and is gay. It's the movie now, the musical, is going to be out on Disney Plus starting on April Fool's Day. This is no joke, though. Lots of people are excited to see it. It's a very popular book series, and those Texas parents that tried to get it banned may not have been as successful as they want, but they are still trying. Let's go ahead and move to that next story then. But before I do, I want you to know that author Tim Federle wrote the books, the Better Nate Than Ever books, based on his own experiences as a theater kid in a small town with a Broadway dream. And according to the good people at commonsense.org, I don't know if you guys ever use commonsense.org, but it's a great place for parents and anybody else to check about appropriate, content for your kids. They say that the book Better Nate Than Never is appropriate for ages 10 and older. So there's that, and coming out on Disney Plus pretty soon. So enjoy that. Alrighty. Now we're going to talk about, there are 50 books, at least 50 books, that conservative parents in Texas are really concerned about because of their relationship to race, gender, and sexual orientation, of course. So speaking of all of those conservative parents, they have been swarming meetings in Texas, board meetings, educational board meetings, asking for the removal of certain library books. These books include, and I'm going to go through 5 of them because we can't go through all 50, but we'll do some more in future shows. They include this book. It is called Drama by Raina Telgemeier. And a parent asked administrators at Spring Branch Independent School District in Houston to pull the graphic novel, which features gay and bisexual characters, because she claimed it might lead young students to question their sexual orientation when they don't even comprehend what that means. Newsflash. Kids do understand a lot about sex, a lot more than you realize, and are probably going to find out the information somewhere else. So why not read it in a good children's book that they can bring home and talk to you about? I'm going off the script a little bit here because I am fully frustrated that my teleprompter did not work as I'd hoped today. But when in doubt on live TV, just go with it. So this first book was called Drama. And they want to ban it, these Texas parents, because of its inclusion of some gay characters. Another book is Better Nate Than Never, we just talked about, although that's not where we are. This is really a fun show today, folks. Number 2, When Wilma Rudolph Played Basketball by Mark Weekland. A parent in Prosper, a Dallas suburb, said this illustrated children's book, which touches on the racism that Olympian Wilma Rudolph experienced growing up in Tennessee in the 1940s, should be removed from school libraries because, quote, it opines prejudice based on race. Gosh, that is frustrating when you hear that. Like, that as if racial tensions haven't existed in our country forever. The third book I want to talk about is called Lawn Boy by Jonathan Evison. A parent in Plano said this coming-of-age novel about a Mexican-American character's journey to understanding his own sexuality and ethnic identity should be banned because it contains profanity, pornography, gambling, and homosexuality, which... Don't you love that list? Profanity, pornography, gambling, and homosexuality.
Yeah.
Like in someone's head, these are real letters from people. This is something that these 4 things just go hand in hand, which is sad. And the parent claimed that the book encourages admiring people with low morals and values and the hate of other people. Yeah, that's the third book. The fourth book people want off the list in Texas, some people, conservative parents, Better Nate Than Ever, by Tim Federle. In it, a parent in Leander, an Austin suburb, asked for this book, which features a subplot about a teenager who's starting to notice his attraction to other boys, to be removed because, quote, books that should not discuss sensitive, controversial topics such as gender or sexuality. Wow. Okay. I'm glad that they put the quote from the parents that are complaining because it really puts you in a perspective like what is going on in their head. Finally, 5, 6, 7, 8, also by Tim Federle. This is probably another book from that same series. A Leander parent suggested replacing children's books that mention gender identity or sexuality, including this one with classics like White Fang, The Indian in the Cupboard, The Swiss Family Robinson, and Shakespeare. Isn't that hilarious? Like this parent would rather... Shakespeare, first of all, is fraught with all kinds of sex and
Oh my gosh, I have a
and
fun
murder.
fact about Shakespeare. Remind me to bring it up later.
Oh, for sure. Well, you know what? That wraps up the Rainbow
We're
Planet.
talking about it now.
This was perhaps the most painful 10 minutes of live TV I've ever done in my life. Thank you, technology.
I'm telling you, there's something going on. Energy.
How many times did I go through it? And it was fine.
Multiple times before we went on. It worked perfect. I just have to throw that out there because it did.
But you held in
not-
there.
You did. He held in there.
Pushed
He did it.
through.
Okay. You know what? Self-love. Yay. It's not about how you fall. It's about how you get back up. And I'm getting back up on the horse now. And this is actually my favorite bit anyways. Maybe it's a sign from the universe that we're not supposed to do the Rainbow Planet that way. Because the whole time I wanted to talk to you about every single story. And I'm like, get through these headlines so we can talk. Let's just talk about these headlines.
Yeah.
So the first story that we started off with is this bill. You know, this has been brewing for a while in Florida.
Yeah.
It is so difficult sometimes as a proud gay person who loves yourself to see how other people think, you know, really it's when you think about this bill making it illegal for teachers to teach gay content of any kind to students from kindergarten to third grade, to even mention gay or talk about sexual
or to out
orientation
them to their parents.
Right. Oh, and if they were to come,
That's crazy
Like,
to me.
making it and encouraging parents to sue if they don't feel like the teacher, is following this bigoted law. And it's the thing about it that's so hard to process as a gay person is that how dare you think
Yeah.
that there's something about being gay that is inappropriate for children.
Yeah.
I'm gay.
How can
I'm not
identity-
inappropriate for children.
How can identity, especially for kids?
Right. The thing is
banned.
sex. These closed-minded, myopic people still think of being gay or as a sex act or something that you do in the bedroom. That isn't what gay is.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it's not. Is that who you are as a parent? And also, this bill would prohibit, like, Sally could come in and talk about her mom and dad, but little Johnny, who has two moms, couldn't come in and talk about his
that's
parents.
bad.
So crazy. Well, and I think that they should teach them obviously about sex, like what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
But they should teach it across the board. This could be like, if there's inappropriate behavior, a little girl or a little boy. Like, I think
Sure.
That is
they
true.
should 100% say, like, this can come from anyone. This could be a coach. This could be a parent. Like, I remember, like, when I was younger, it was like, this is your no-no square.
Right.
Like, they should teach that no matter what gender, what age, and specifically that young. Because then it's ingrained in you.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
also, like, times have changed. Like, things are so different than they were 20, 30 years ago. And you have to, like, be up to date with the times. Kids are going to wonder this either way. And if you don't teach them correctly to be, like, open and ask questions, I mean, they've got to be delicate with the situation, but they need to be delicate with the situation anyway.
Right.
Like, and I don't think that should change. I think it's asinine.
Times have
Yeah.
changed, but not everywhere and not for all people. Many people, this law and other versions of it are popping up in all kinds of conservative states.
That's so wild to me. Well, especially I think that teachers should what if, I mean, especially like little kids, like, what if they say something that they don't necessarily mean or they heard it somewhere and like then you're going to their parents
Right.
and they
Yeah,
have
that doesn't make any sense.
and they're like, wait, I don't even understand what I said. Like, why is that wrong? Or like maybe they are having inclinations from a young age. That should be like, okay, this is a good time to like maybe go to the
Yeah.
counselor, or hey, like you're bringing up this concern, like I don't think that they should call their parents.
Imagine too if one of these parents is signing this bill and is
Yeah.
in support. That's the kind of home life they have. One of their few places of refuge that they feel safe, that they could maybe talk, would be at school.
Yeah.
And you're removing one of the lifelines from, one of the most marginalized communities there is, which is young queer kids. Young gay kids have incredibly high suicide rates compared to their straight counterparts. And now what do? Make a rule that says you can't even talk about gay, like as if just the word is somehow offensive.
Well,
That's offensive.
We have like history classes. Why shouldn't this be in it?
Of course.
There should 100% be a sexuality class.
I mean,
like,
maybe not a sexuality class for kindergartners.
no,
but-
not for kindergartners.
I
I mean, like, yeah, older. But like, I think that 100% that should be like, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know exactly how you would bring that up, but I don't think it should be shunned. Especially like, what if like classrooms are supposed to like promote questions? Like, what if someone has a question? What are you going to just say? You didn't have a good question, Timmy, so we're not answering that.
The
Like,
subtext of this entire law is that we're unacceptable. Gays are unacceptable.
Yeah.
It is not acceptable to talk to children about this thing that is too adult, too grown up, but it's not. It's just another aspect of millions of people's lives, just like being heterosexual.
Well,
Yeah.
same with like there was a girl that we had who was Jehovah's Witness and didn't celebrate any of the holidays. She also didn't stand in the room for like the American flag.
Right.
And there were certain things, and like people asked about that from a very young age. Like, hey, why does Kelly leave the room?
Right.
And they just said, oh, this is like not her religious belief. I think there's a way to like,
Yeah. Could you imagine if I
incorporate
was
it.
the governor of some state and I was like, you know what? From now on, it shouldn't be legal to talk about anything religion, kindergarten through third grade, because religion is just too intense a topic. It's too grown up. That's something we should be deciding at home. And then that kid comes, happens to be Jehovah's Witness, who
Yeah.
doesn't stand up for the, flag salute or doesn't celebrate their birthday or holidays. And you couldn't ask. And it would
Yeah.
just be like this curiosity and this mystery. and just think about the whole thought that we're going to limit what educators can teach. Like they're there to educate. Do they really think that there's, all of these teachers all over the country with this like motive to like hypersexualize children from a young age? I mean, the implications of this law are so insulting and so offensive.
Well, and they're further saying that they think that being gay is a choice because
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
like,
you might
if
influence
these kids hear the word gay, they're going to want to be like, well,
That's the thing that's frustrating about that
wow.
is that there's this presupposition that everyone's straight.
That's the default sexuality thing. There is
Exactly.
no default sexuality.
Right. So not talking about gay, are you not going to, if a kindergarten comes in and says, I want to bring, this book that my mom and dad signed, are you not going to let them because we don't talk about relationships? Or is it just gay relationships?
That's interesting. I have a story. When I was in high school, my friend, we went to different high schools, but there was this teacher, I think like an anatomy teacher, and like he was like very like open with like the class. Like he was just so like transparent, but whenever like he would never talk about his personal life. They would ask like, "Oh, are you dating? Are you married? Do you have kids?" And he would like just like rub it like off and like, "No, Turned out he actually had gotten married to his partner, like literally like right when they like in 2008 when that bill got passed.
Sure.
And she found out like years after she graduated that he had been married that whole entire time, but he was never allowed to say anything. And this was in California.
Allowed.
Right.
So,
He probably was part of the marriage. So a bunch of people got married right before 2008 because there was concern of what ultimately did happen was Proposition 8 did pass, which removed that temporary right that had been granted to Californians to be to marry a same-sex person. But thankfully, that was all thrown over by the Supreme Court case in 2014. So I just want to make sure that's clear. But yeah, there's so a teacher. So he was, because that's how teachers are. Teachers are, as a rule, are not sitting around talking about their private lives.
Which would be weird if they did.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even like you couldn't even like, I mean, like a heterosexual teacher can say like, "Yo, yesterday me and my kids and me and my husband."
That's true.
Yeah.
Like,
And that would
he couldn't
happen.
do
Right.
that.
Or could you have a photo of your partner on your
He could talk about
desk?
his mom. He could talk about his siblings. He could talk about his friends, but he never talked about like his significant other.
Like, what if you
So
wanted, like so
interesting.
many people do in their workplace, they have a family photo or
Yeah.
a photo of their.
Yeah, like my teachers had their.
Yeah.
Now I'm
And-
thinking back to high school, and I remember knowing teachers that had spouses, like heterosexual relationships.
Of course.
But now, and I know that there were like rumors like, oh, I think that they're gay because they never talked about their relationships.
I see.
And
Or,
I honestly hadn't remembered that until now.
I mean,
But hopefully that's not going to happen anymore.
I would encourage people to be honest and be themselves.
Agreed.
And any environment, if you're in but this is scary because this is Florida is like
In this age range,
Florida.
Yeah.
I don't really. I mean, we did talk about censorship on a previous episode, and this kind of comes into play for my beliefs on censorship. Like, I just don't understand, no matter what the subject is, blocking people from, like, children from knowing or seeing things.
Especially if they're curious and
Yeah.
trying to, there's age appropriate ways of teaching all kinds of different content. But the fact is if anything that can be said about heterosexual love, heterosexuality, even if it's, not directly, but like you're referencing my wife or, any of that's appropriate is appropriate for same-sex couples as well. If I was a school teacher, which I used to be, at the time it was a long time ago, so it was like 2 decades ago, so I wasn't really out then. But if I was referencing my husband, I would say my husband.
Yeah.
And a kid could be like, oh, boys can have husbands? And I'm like, yeah, actually a lot of them do.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
And totally human and totally normal. And people need to get their heads out of their butts and stop using archaic language in the Bible that has been misinterpreted over and over and over for millennials to support bigotry and hatred. That is not what Jesus wanted. And I will get into more religious talk soon because people probably are surprised to find out sometimes that I'm religious, that I go to church, and then I have a beautiful, loving, gay, celebrating church that I go to, and there are hundreds of them all over the country. So if you're watching this and you feel that connection or that need, blow me up. I will tell you where to go. newabbey.org. You can stream on Sundays at 10. Yeah, I just feel like it all comes back to that.
Yeah.
Like this, at the end of the day, all the anti-gay crap that's still left over in the United States stems from people's misunderstanding, misguided, sometimes good intentions. Like they just want to follow the Bible, but you're doing so blindly in a way that cherry picks what is and isn't okay. Like, of course, it's going to be easy to say homosexuality is a sin when you are not homosexual. What a really easy commandment to follow, right? But the truth is it's not. People's sexual orientations are part of your identity, which is who you are. It is as innate as your taste buds, your eye color, or your which hand you write with. These are not things that we choose. They are just facts. And for as long as people have been on the planet, gay people have been here, thank God we're finally out of the shadows now because we're coming along. But I really am going to keep hitting this note about if you are using the Bible to defend your homophobia, you are wrong. Stick that in the sizzle.
Yeah. Writing down those
I am
time codes.
so over pussyfooting around this.
I
Like,
know.
if you are looking at this right now and you, in your heart, think that gay is a choice, you are wrong. I'm not saying that there's never been a person in history to choose it. Lord knows I chose to be straight. I really chose to be straight for years and years and years, forcing myself to pretend I was something that I wasn't. I mean, how many millions of people need to get into a parade route for you to realize that it is not a choice, that we're not going to hell, and that you are wrong? You are wrong on this. Okay? I'm talking to you if you think that it's okay to defend your homophobia with the Bible. The Bible is not a weapon. It is a book of love, and Jesus never once talked about gay. You know what he did talk about, though? Unconditional love.
Yeah, right?
Which is really a big theme for all of us here at ModPod and Gals, Gays, and Days. I'm glad I got out of my little soapbox. Our second story after that was SNL star Kate McKinnon doing her bit. I just love her.
Yeah, she's amazing.
And she makes such a valid point. Like, remember, I don't know if you, when I have a story about the word gay. When I was a school teacher, not only did we talk about gay, I had sixth graders, so it was law wouldn't have applied, but they used to use the word gay inappropriately. They would use it as a synonym for lame or stupid or that's so gay. That's so gay. To them meant that's something negative, you know? And I was literally teaching English. I was a humanities teacher. And so I wanted my students to learn the accurate use of words. And I'm like, that is not an accurate use of the word. And you're going to write 100 sentences here with the word gay in the proper use of it. You can talk about famous historic figures being gay. You can use the word gay as a synonym for happy, which it oftentimes is accurately used. Or, and so I would just make them, I'm sure these kids are like,
They still think about it to
I'm sure they
day.
do.
Well, same with
I love
that point in time, probably and now I feel like people have grown quite a bit. People used to say that's so retarded.
Oh, I know.
And then that changed. I think it was probably around maybe way longer than I'm thinking, but I felt like that was the same time when people said that's so gay.
Right.
And it was around that kind of block, 2 to 3 years, maybe longer. But then, I remember people saying, you can't say that. And people would be like, why? And they're like, that's offensive. And it was a teaching moment. And then I remember there was a point in time everyone stopped saying that. And now, I mean, I definitely don't have friends that say either one of those statements now. But
Right.
but I think there was kind of that time. And it was about 6th grade.
Mm-hmm. I remember. Yeah. I mean, really, though, for you, 6th grade was a really different era than it was for me. Actually, you were probably a 6th grader right when I was teaching.
Probably. Yeah.
What year were you 6th grade?
Mariah?
I know. I was like, you're going to ask me.
Yeah.
2009.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, because what is it? Mariah, you were a grade younger than me,
I
right?
was. So I,
Yeah.
2011, 10.
So I was a school teacher in
2008,
2001.
2009, I was in 5th, 6th. So
I was
yeah.
literally teaching on my way to school when 9/11 happened.
Yeah,
So,
I was in kindergarten.
Yeah.
very nice, yeah. So I wouldn't have had you. I wouldn't have had you yet. but I would. And yeah, it's very offensive when people use the word gay to mean a pejorative, like as a synonym for something that's bad. And I'll be glad when more people use the words accurately, but are also not afraid to use them, because gay is a thing. It's not it's not
Gay and proud.
Yeah. I mean, it takes a lot to cross that bridge of self-love when you've grown up with something so difficult. So if you're there and you know that feeling, good job. Congrats. And congrats to you, Kate McKinnon. We love you on SNL, and you're always welcome here at GGT ModPod Studio. Open invitation.
Yeah.
What was our next story?
I do want to add really fast because at GGT, we want to create like a very safe, welcoming environment for anyone. But I got a message from someone who listens to our podcast, and she said, I was listening to GGT today, which
She called it
literally
GGT.
made me like die. I was like, oh my God, someone was listening to GGT today. And she said, I laughed when you said, maybe I need to rethink my sexuality, when I was talking about the bisexual person,
Right.
like Pan. And then she was like, because same LOL. Like she was saying that she related to it. And
Do you know this person, or is it just a total?
it is someone that I know. We're not super close actually, but we have met before. But the fact that she like reached
Right.
out to me and actually she's been listening to all the podcasts. So, and I've gotten like 3 messages from her, like with really positive feedback. So
That's awesome.
So I share a similar story. So I won't say any names just because I don't think that's appropriate, but
Yeah.
I'm on a certain public commission here in Pasadena, and a fellow commissioner reached out to me because of hearing about the show, and has a child who's experiencing questioning trans on a journey of potentially being transgender, and wondered if he could talk to me and like pick my brain. And that is literally exactly why oh my God, I'm gonna get emotional.
I know. Yeah.
Because there was nothing like that when we were growing up.
No.
And
not at
so-
all. That's awesome.
So yeah, so we are an
Feels
outlet
really
for that.
good.
That's what we're here for. I mean, please, if you know of anybody, if you're hearing this right now and you know somebody who this content is a good match for, send them the link. Jump in the live chat. We record live every Tuesday and Friday too, in California. So did we hit 3? What was our third story?
Our third story was Ariana DeBose.
Congratulations, Ariana DeBose. Am I saying her name right? She is a really talented singer. I love when people with history on Broadway cross over to film.
Yeah.
Because you could just like, it's just such a specific kind of skill to learn how to act on Broadway and to sing on Broadway, and it doesn't always translate to film, but when someone can make it work, it's fabulous.
Her presence is
Yeah.
insane. I actually haven't seen the full movie yet, but the clip that I played earlier of her, oh my God.
You know what's crazy is that role's really blessed, because in the previous adaptation of West Side Story, Rita Moreno played Anita, and she won all the awards for it. She got an Oscar and everything, and Rita Moreno is one of the few people in Hollywood who have the EGOT, the Emmy, the Grammy, the Oscar, and the Tony. And yeah, she got her Oscar for playing Anita in the 60s adaptation of West Side Story. Yes, making sure I have the era right.
You're like,
You know, I like my film facts to be accurate. Yeah, so congratulations to Ariana DeBose.
Ariana.
Congratulations, it's the first openly queer person to win a Screen Actors Guild film category. That's why, by the way, whenever you look at close, it says a film prize. It's because the Screen Actors Guild give out both TV awards and film awards. The TV awards obviously have had a little bit more diversity over the years, just because there's been more diversity on TV than there was on the big screen. So congratulations again to her. It is really an accomplishment, and it does put her, fun fact for all my entertainment junkies out there, the Screen Actors Guild and all the Guild awards, the Directors Guild, whoever wins the Writers Guild, those are the best precursors to the Oscars, like statistically.
interesting.
People used to think, oh, the Golden Globes tells you like what's going to happen, and the Golden Globes is a joke.
Yeah, I was
mean,
going to say.
They're not even having it this year.
they
right?
did have them. They were not attended or televised. They gave them out. She won actually for
Oh, they just didn't televise it.
Why
Right.
not?
because of the controversy. It was exposed a year ago that the Golden Globes didn't have a single person of color voting in their pool, and they only have 89 people. And
wow.
It's a Hollywood Foreign Press is the organization that is responsible for the Golden Globes. And in theory, the Hollywood Foreign Press are supposed to be like journalists who are covering film for different countries. And so they're very steeped in film. They, should have a critical eye.
And culture
and
understanding.
Exactly. And a cultural understanding from different cultures. Well, the truth is, when you dig into the list of people, they almost all live in the United States. Some of them write for periodicals or don't even write for periodicals. They might blog, and they're not legitimate, or they're not the most well-known news outlets. And the biggest scathing mark was that they didn't have any people of color. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Didn't Tom Cruise return back his Golden Globes?
A bunch of people were at least threatening. I'm not sure if anything actually came back. He did?
He did, yeah.
I mean, it's just like... everybody that works in the business that I covered for years, we all knew the Golden Globes was a joke. Like, it's fun. It was a party. Like, the Golden Globes is where you want to see drunk famous people like that. But the prize, the actual Golden Globe award, has been around for 60, 70 years, and there's an honor to it. People are proud of winning a Golden Globe, or they used to be, but the insiders knew that it was kind of a joke. I mean, when only 80 people are choosing something that's that important, there's a problem.
Yeah, and the voting, I did an investigation on it when the story came out, and the voting process is just easily corruptible.
No offense, I love all films. If you look at the history of who has been nominated for a Golden Globe, it is so obvious that they are just trying to pack the house with the most famous people possible.
It's about
and they take
Johnny
bribes.
Depp and Angelina Jolie were nominated for The Tourist. Exactly.
And that movie was
Yeah. Wow, that's so interesting. I honestly did no research on. I had no idea. I'm learning something right now. Wow, that's so interesting.
They started taking bribes around the 80s and 90s.
So famous.
That's so crazy. They're like, hey, okay, I have a question. How much was the Golden Globe?
Exactly.
How much do we have to pay to get in there?
I mean, I don't know about any direct bribes, but it's famous. The Hollywood Foreign Press was famous for hosting these luncheons. And they mean Natalie Portman would come, and people that are literally only showing up to schmooze with you so that you pick her over the other four nominees.
I do too.
I do too. Nothing not to love about Natalie Portman.
Good. I was like, wait.
Okay, speaking
I mean, I
love her.
Her SNL thing where when she has a shaved head, I guess she was.
Oh yeah.
I think she had done that movie. V's for Vendetta.
Yeah, for Vendetta.
So she had a shaved head, and she
what
hosted.
a good movie is that? Oh my god.
And she was it's just Angel, and it's yo, yo, yo. And she does this whole hip hop. Have you ever seen this?
I don't think so.
We fully have to pull this up. If you Google Natalie Portman SNL rap, you'll see it. It's in black and white, and she's hardcore in it.
Oh my gosh.
Totally out of character for who we know and love as Natalie Portman. I mean, love. Love. She's so good too.
Yeah.
And then the whole went back to Harvard to get my degree, even though I was already famous. Oh, and I married this hot French ballet dancer.
I love that.
She's just so intelligent.
I love it. Yeah. You're invited too, Natalie. If you want, open invitation. Just say the word and come on in.
There's
ModPod.
room back here.
You like how I keep I'm where are my stories? So where were we on our story breakdown?
Okay,
Siri. Let's hear this one more time, shall we?
Hi, I'm Siri. Choose the voice you'd like me to use.
Okay.
I just feel like it always should have been an agender.
And this is the important part of this story. Well, how did this happen? So the fact that everyone's just we made all the voice assistants women's names.
Interesting.
And we have tech development rooms filled with men. And Alexa and Siri and Cortana, who I don't even know who she is, but she was in the write-up. They're gonna come pre-installed on your phone with a female voice, a female name, and what do? You tell them all day what to do. You boss them around as a personal assistant.
It's so blatant.
Exactly. Why is that a woman's role? Why was that not? Because in those rooms, when they're being developed, there weren't enough women.
Yeah, and
That's why.
Men saying, "Oh well, men are gonna want to hear woman's voice," saying, "Oh, hi, Daniel."
Exactly.
I wonder
Yes,
though,
sir.
Exactly.
I wonder though, from like customer segments, they had to do some type of research to where they had to pick, probably give them 8 different voices and be like,
Right.
okay, which one
But that makes it more sad.
it does.
Right?
But I'm assuming
Right.
they
that
had
does make
to.
it more sad because it's like even with all that consideration, it's
The
still.
consensus is.
I mean,
But-
Chevy Nova.
But I would assume.
I always say that every time I'm like, I mean, if you think big companies don't make huge mistakes, look up what Nova means in Spanish and then try to tell me you're going to sell a car there. Chevy's famous for that blunder that nobody spoke Spanish. Like nobody thought we can't call this car doesn't go
Yeah.
in all of our Spanish speaking markets. Same
So
thing here.
wild.
Yeah.
You would think though, I mean, they had to have, I wonder what consumer research said. I mean, now
Right.
it's changed to where they got enough people saying, hey, we want something that's neutral. Like I always thought the British guy was hilarious. Like
Right.
I
Yeah.
loved
See,
him.
I have a British guy on mine.
Me
I do too.
Yeah.
He's
Oh my God, we all have the British
I
guy.
all have
Because
the
I
British
like
guy.
to feel like I'm being chauffeured around by Giles.
I do
Like, once
too.
more around the block, Charles.
Yeah, he's like, turn left. And I'm
Exactly.
like, no
Oh.
problem. But like, if it was someone else, I'd be like, no.
Guess what British people
That's awesome.
don't think about Americans? That we have an amazing accent.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They
We
don't
love theirs,
yeah.
and they also love theirs.
Yeah.
They're like, we don't love
No
you.
one wants
My
to be
best friend is
American.
British. Shout out to Phil. And he's been in this country for I think he's close to 2 decades and he's still got that thick British
He
accent.
does still have a thick
That's
accent.
amazing.
And he's like, I'll never lose it.
Yeah. The pride, the British pride.
I know it, and I guess I get
I
that.
love it.
If
I
I,
think it's
was,
fun.
although I guess like I don't know if have you ever thought if you would be like a Madonna? You know how Madonna's like got sort of a faux British accent.
Yeah.
She's-
Well,
Yeah.
and there was like a Real Housewife, Dorit.
Right,
Dorit.
Yeah, where
right.
she's like
Ugh,
talking
don't get me
in.
started on
and,
Dorit.
and then she like randomly had it. I do feel like people can pick up accents.
I do
though.
too. That's why I don't judge it. I'm like,
Uh-uh.
because Madonna lives in London. I mean, she
Yeah.
at least has a house there. I'm
Yeah,
sure she
but
got a house
Dorit's
everywhere.
accent
Yeah.
changed like every episode.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah,
it was like a little different.
It was, and it was
She's like,
never
I just
like
traveled the
considered-
world all my life.
I know, and we're like, no.
okay, Dorit.
Oh,
You've been in Beverly
just wants
Hills.
to be
Calm
mysterious.
down.
Yeah.
Just because
Right.
you went to Erewhon does not mean that you are cultured. Like,
She's like, I'm like going to Louis Vuitton is not equal going to France.
Yeah, yeah.
Even
that's
though-
so funny.
It's not a bad place to hang out.
Yeah.
that's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what was that story? Series voice.
Yeah.
So gender neutral. So I think that just way more attention is being paid to everything these days. Like
Yeah.
this whole like era that we're living through is an awakening. Like, and it actually, I was talking to Angelica, who will be on later today with a special show, and she was saying that we're coming to some end of a 24,000 year dark period.
Interesting.
And we're switching into this enlightenment period. And so a big part of the reason why there's so much change happening right now is because we're in a transition period in time. I don't know anything
Like
about
symbolically,
astrology,
like
but that's what she said.
that's kind of. Does she mean? Maybe you don't know, but does she mean like similar to? Okay, so like, think about Noah's Ark.
Uh-huh. I do all the time.
The
You're like
I-
every morning. I think
This is
about
another
Noah
one
and
of the this is one
animals.
of the Bible stories that I feel like people are missing the point. Do you
Well, I was
really
gonna
think
say
that
symbolically.
there are like millions of grasshoppers? Do you think every single 2 by 2 we came on all the grasshoppers? Like, wake up, people! It's a story of the
Evan
Noah's
Almighty,
Ark
everyone-
is about
yeah.
the importance of being obedient. One,
Mm-hmm.
and take that boat ride when it comes because there's a big river coming.
Well, I was gonna say symbolically, you know how like they talk about the story how God like cleared out the earth. I'm like, okay, is that what's happening these
Right.
few years? Like, are we pandemic and like war and all these things are gonna happen, and then we're gonna have this enlightenment? Is that what Angelica's saying?
Hers was not rooted, I don't think, in any kind of religion. I think hers.
Not really. I didn't mean to make it. I'm just saying like,
Oh, okay. Well, hers was rooted, I don't know, astrology.
Yeah.
It's like, what are the, like, you knew that something about Pisces was something.
it's Pisces season.
Okay. Who decided that?
The sky.
Okay. Well, then that's where this shit comes from, too.
So that's what I mean. That's
right.
what I mean.
It
It's
comes
like
from the sky.
It's
Oh my
like
gosh.
I'm 100% believe in spirituality in the universe and astrology, and that's my main source of spirituality. And I totally believe that these past few years, 10 years maybe of it, ever since 2008, I feel like we've been on this downhill. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean,
maybe 2 and uphill, because you got to go down to come back up.
That's right.
That's like kind of the point of it, right?
You can't have a major comeback without a small setback.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Are we talking about banned books now?
Better Nate Than Never.
Yes.
Or Better
Well,
Nate Than Ever.
The musical is coming out. This is kind of stories 5 and 6 are kind of all
Yeah.
wrapped up into one that parents in Texas were stunned to find out that not everyone is born straight and not everyone's born white.
What?
I know, it's stunning. And they don't want us to read any books that might have characters that aren't straight and white, I guess. I am, of course, paraphrasing, but the list, it's just, when you look at the books that are on this list, the 50 at least that we've seen so far, it's so obvious that the people that are upset about this have just they're afraid. It's fear-based, fear of the unknown. Make a gay friend. Like, honestly, we're not that scary.
Watch our show.
Yeah. If you're worried don't have your kids watch and they're too young. I mean, I don't want to, but but why not?
Yeah. Hey.
That's your choice. But I think that this idea of banning books and then to see what the parents wrote on the requests, I loved this. This was NBC reporting, by the way, this 50 banned books article. Yeah. And just to see like the one that was, we shouldn't be exposing our kids to things like, that are controversial, like gambling and
like
what it was.
It was like gambling.
It was like 3 bad things, and then homosexuality, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah, like how does homosexuality fit in with that at all? But I think the quotes were so important because it really does show that they have no understanding of what like being gay actually is.
Exactly. It's all about sex to everybody. Oh, why are you talking about sex? Yeah. And then this idea that you can make people gay. Like, that's the other thing that is like on the back of people's minds that they're not saying is, if my kindergartner hears about, someone's gay parents at kindergarten, at school, they might come out and be gay.
Chances are they are.
They're going to be gay if they're going to be gay, and they're going to be straight if they're going to be straight, they're going to be somewhere in between, which is probably where most people are these days. I mean, the fact of the matter is language is limiting. There aren't enough words for all the things we are. I don't know. I mean, yeah, between gay and straight, I'm definitely gayer than straight. but like when we were talking about emotional attraction. Like when we were on Friday, we went through GLAAD's list of the glossary of gay words and LGBTQ plus terminology. In fact, all of us on the show saying homosexual, even though we're repeating it, is really not preferred. It's considered offensive and derogatory to use homosexual rather than gay or LGBTQ plus, because of its focus on sex. And but why did I bring that up?
Because we were talking about bi plus on Friday and what that entails.
Exactly. So there's all of these different words that mean different things. And we were trying to just like educate as many people about all of the terms and phrases because there's a lot of confusion about it, Again, I'm still a little bit off my train. What was the reason I talked about this?
Yeah, because there's like romantic, physical, emotional
that's
attraction.
it. Thank you. I love you, Mariah. Yeah. She picks up everything I'm setting down. And trust me, at my age, how many times do I come into a room like, what did I come in here for? Every day, multiple times a day. It's not cute, but it's true. Now remind me again. Emotional attraction. So I'm emotionally attracted to women.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was a form of attraction. Like if here's that's interesting. I never thought about that because I'm having my own little breakthrough moment.
Yeah.
Like if something was to happen and I was not able to, because I wouldn't want to kiss a girl.
Yeah, but is it like an emotional connection, right?
You're drawn towards women.
Yeah, you're drawn towards their energy.
I am.
Because I think the point of it is that it doesn't have to be sexual attraction.
That's exactly right. Like if I was to like cuddle with a woman in bed, it would be like sisters cuddling.
Yeah.
And I would love it, but it I mean, and I do that with a lot of my girlfriends, you know, they're very comfortable with me because it's when you're really in touch with your feminine side, but you happen to be a man, it's kind of a beautiful relationship between like gay men and straight women can have a particularly beautiful bond because there's literally zero competition. Like you're going to the group of men who you're attracted to are not going to be want to be with me. And I mean, that's not
You never
always
know.
true. That's true. I
Find a really cool bi guy.
heard myself saying it as soon as I was things are changing. So
remember-
never mind. Ladies beware. I'm coming after your man too. And he probably wants
I remember
it.
watching this YouTuber, and she was telling her story that her dad was gay, and that he was married to her mom. That he always knew that he was gay, but that he loved her mom so much, and he wanted to have a baby with her.
That's-
and it's just
Yeah.
complicated, but that's her dad.
It doesn't fit into this closed-minded binary world of the average human. That's the
Yeah.
problem. We're not one or the other. That's
Yeah.
just the truth. In almost anything, it still blows my mind that people can think that that a sexual orientation is a choice when body parts aren't even a choice half the time. Like some people are intersex, are born with physical
Yeah.
traits of both genders, or both
Yes.
traditional genders. So if that can happen in Mother Nature, why is it so hard for people to think that you can't just be? Okay, I'm really on this. I'm like I'm beating this drum today.
But it's
I think
so
it's
true.
Yeah.
And-
I think honestly, sorry to cut you off,
No,
Mariah.
it's fine.
good.
I think why people can't wrap their head around it is because people don't talk about it. Like when,
Right.
like besides
Like this.
here, like this
Right.
is a very different conversation than a lot of times you're going to have with a ton of other people. They don't teach you this in school.
Right.
They don't teach you this. This isn't on a ton of podcasts. This isn't all over social media. Like, and you'll see little things like you might see the Pride Parade or certain things, but I feel like there's lacking this like open conversation, and that's why people aren't up to date because there isn't this like
Maybe that's why we did this,
rapport.
huh?
Yeah, I
Because
think
we were
that-
missing it. We didn't.
Yeah.
We were missing the place to go.
I'm gonna be honest. I remember
Why?
being
When it's so fun to lie.
confused. I'm gonna be honest. When I heard that story, I was like, well, how he knew he was gay? It wasn't like he knew, but he loved her, and I was like, oh,
Were they
how-
married? So did
I believe they were married.
That's
so
the-
they did get married. Okay.
Yeah,
That's the
I
thing, though. It's
believe.
like limiting. Like you can be gay and marry a woman. You can be straight and marry.
And I've known a lot of my gay friends. They've lost their virginity to women.
I did.
yeah.
I mean, I was
and-
20
and-
or 17.
You know.
I'm like, my mom is like just taking notes now.
and I think that's really interesting. Like,
Yeah.
maybe
Well,
some,
There's different reasons that happens. Like it happens to me because I so wanted to be straight. Like I was putting on a performance, and I mean, I performed. These women were not unhappy because when you're like,
so funny.
when you're nervous for being found out, I was like flicking and licking and
Oh my
doing it
Doing
all.
everything.
It was like wax on, wax off. I had it down.
Getting it. All
You
right,
know who
Mr.
you are,
Miyake.
ladies. You lucky 8. Talk about
Wow,
well, not all at the
lucky
same time. It was 17 to 21. 4 years, 2 a year was my average, I guess, when I
I mean,
was.
hey, yeah, that's.
Hey.
Those numbers change once I cross over to men.
Oh my god.
Should we all talk about our numbers on the show? Or?
No.
Oh my God!
I'm not
Let me
going
get a
there.
slide rule. I need a what are those old-fashioned calculators
scrolls.
called? Hibiscus or something? I can't remember. Math. Yeah. So a lot of people will have sex with people who are of the opposite sex. Like if you're in the closet, you really. I mean, I just so wanted to be straight. Like I used to pray for it every night. I thought I thought I was going to hell and that I was broken and it was a miserable, few chapters there because of this painful wrong teaching. Like I learned from people that love me in church, this was supposed to be a safe place, like to think the worst possible things about myself. And I know millions of people can relate to that. Not just gay people. But people are taught all the time that their skin color isn't right, that their gender isn't right, that their brain isn't right, that people are dyslexic and taunted for that, or have, I'm not just lumping all these things together. I'm just saying the way that we are is the way we are, and acceptance and love and unconditionally embracing people is really the cure-all, in my opinion, for the world of poo that we're often finding ourselves in. People just need to meet each other. That's the ultimate thing that changes people, is knowing someone, loving them, and now it's like, oh, I can't vote against their interests. I can't. So how this all ties into these banned books or these wannabe banned books in Texas is well, I guess it's all connected in the sense that we're just talking a lot today about the exposure children's exposure to sexuality, children's exposure to racial. Like that one book that wants to be kicked out because it opines and makes our kids. This whole argument that critical race theory can't be taught. First of all, I don't even know what critical race theory is. Okay, I'm not claiming to be an educated person, but I have a sense that because of the people who are against it, that I'd be for it. One, but because they want to. Like they don't want they don't want little white kids to feel bad that ever read anything that might make them feel bad about themselves. You know, that's just like the argument against talking about certain very serious things that have happened, you know, historically with race in our country. And think about that. Like think about how bad people have felt about the lack of representation for millenniums. Mm-hmm. And now we finally get some representation, and now you have this group of people that are working hard and doing everything they can to remove it, to take out the progress that we've made. So, but here's the good news. The long arm of history bends towards justice. I do believe that. I think that eventually things, well, I hope. I know in my life I've seen a lot of improvement, and I hope that this show is an example of that. You know, I wouldn't have done this 20 years ago, but I'm doing it now. I think we're ready for a break, right? And when we come back, Christy McInnes is going to join us with KCM Connect Corner with Christy McInnes, our branding and marketing expert. I can't wait for her stories. But first, we are celebrating Women's History Month all month in March. And today actually is International Women's Day.
Yes, it is.
Woo! Happy International Women's Day, everybody. And here is a mindful moment, a quote from a beautiful woman and who she is. Here you go. And
Life goes up and it goes down. I know my mom taught me that. I figured why we fool around so little And we keep track of time, being so serious. Idiots, thinking it will matter, keep me company downtown. Before the clock runs out, all things must pass. But I'm not gonna wake up, wake up. I'm not ready, let me have another day. Don't wake up, wake up. Keep it steady, cause I'm happy, I'm not gonna wait.
Guys, hello, I am Christina McGinnis with KCM Connect Corner, bringing you all the juicy marketing details every week from this corner of the internet. And we're live. I love being live. I think it's fun. Took me a hot minute to get comfortable being live, but gotta push ourselves. And a new thing that we're going to be doing for the show is every once a month, we're just gonna do like a solo Q&A. So we're gonna just read a whole bunch of your guys' questions.
Yes, like that. I have a question.
Yeah. So if you guys have anything you want to send over, put it in the chat, send it over to GGT, ModPod, send it over to mine, and we'll read them. So I can't wait for this. I think it's just going to be super fun because I think we go into a lot of business branding stories and we say our thoughts, but not necessarily okay, let's bring your guys' situation and give direct advice to that one thing. So to start off, we're going to call this segment, the once a month, the Dear KCM. So first things first, says, Dear KCM, I want to grow my personal brand, but don't know where to start. I am a personal trainer. Thank you for giving me a little context because sometimes with questions, they give you nothing and you're like, hey, I would tailor this so differently to somebody else. So for a personal brand, especially a personal trainer, I think you can infuse for this particular market, you can infuse personal training with your own personal brand because really as a personal trainer, you're not only selling your services, but you're selling yourself. You have such a connection to this person you're training. So really I would suggest if you're starting from square one, doing one of our coaching calls, I take on select clients, and do 3 hours or 6 hours. And those are either a 3-week intensive or a 6, where we do checklist, target audience, brand voice worksheet, value proposition, account rules, shot list, branding, everything. But if you're not going to do that, so first things first, I would figure out who you want. What kind of clients do you want? Are you going to do online, in person? If you're going to do in person, do you have a space? Are they meeting you at your space? Are you going to them? If so, what does that look like? How many people can you take on? A lot of business back end things. And then for actually building the business and the presence online, I would look at your branding. So what do you want as your brand? Who's your target audience? You're going to tailor that very differently from a 20-year-old, or if you're training 45-year-olds. And then do you want male or female clients? Do you want both? Is there something I know trainers that specifically just work and are coaches for bodybuilders. So what's your vibe? I would decide all of that and then tailor your branding. So you want to have hex codes, which would be your company's colors, and then your typography that you're going to use across platforms, just to keep everything consistent on your website, email headers, literally everything. And then I would go, once that's all sorted and you've figured out your offerings, how much you're charging, all that kind of back end stuff, make sure that's taken into account for your branding. And then I would start creating content around that. So if you're targeting, let's say 20-year-olds and you're very minimalist, they're coming to train at your house, start creating content that would resonate with a 20-year-old audience. That might be really funny TikToks. My trainer made one that was specifically, I'm sure, tailored toward me and my workout partner, where she did the Kim Kardashian one that was oh my gosh, my back hurts, this hurts, I'm really tired, I can't do this today, but totally resonates with her audience because we all love the Kardashians. And it was super funny. So she used trending audios, and I would really segment everything out. So if you want to be posting 2 to 3 reels a week, you could film those all in advance and then create your content calendar from there. Obviously, there'd be a lot more I'd go into if you were actually my client, but that's kind of just a general base. You guys have any thoughts on that over there?
What do you think? I'll let you go first. Ladies first, Taylor.
I think with the personal trainer, that's true. Because especially when it's like a personal experience like that, you want to feel like you're being marketed. You want to feel like it. Like, cause you want to know that person has like intention with you in mind.
Yeah.
So I think that's true.
And too, it's not like, especially a personal trainer, like if you're training at a gym, like you're a 24-hour fitness trainer, that looks very different than like a personal trainer that's like not underneath another brand and can do that like solely on their own. Like if you're going to 24-hour fitness, your whole experience is going to look different than going to someone's house or them meeting you in a park or something like that.
Yeah.
I agree.
He's like, check. He's like, I'm done for today.
No. I thinking about how to market a new business is obviously something that's been on my mind a lot. And hearing your advice for a trainer in that situation makes sense. I mean, it is very different if you're training at a place that's already branded. Like you're going to end up absorbing that brand to some degree, whether it's Gold's or Crunch or Equinox. All the money.
Yeah, all the money.
All
They're like,
the money. Equinox.
more for you.
Yeah, but if you have an individual who can what would you do? That's actually probably part of what this question is about, is how do you get them started when they're on their own, doing their own thing?
Yeah. So, I mean, I would first, I always attack things from a business side before I do like the actual branding, because your branding and the entire way you do all of your strategy is going to change based on your target market.
Right.
So for them, if they were doing like the 20-year-olds, they're going out on their own, I would pick like, okay, if you're starting solely from scratch, you want to do like packages of like, 12 sessions at a time. You're going to like deduct those. You can also, if you say, okay, I know that a lot of 20-year-olds aren't comfortable with this price point, but if I knocked it down $10 per session and they could bring a friend, they're more likely to do that.
Right.
Same with accountability buddy. Why don't people go to the gym and do this themselves? Accountability, they don't know what to do. They need the structure. They want like someone who's an expert, all of those things. So tailor your packages like that. And then from there, I would reach out to influencers. I'd start up on the Instagram, on TikTok, sharing free knowledge. And then from there, create some type of online course for people who aren't in person.
What does that look like, that part, when you say reach out to influencers? Do you literally say so a person who, say, you go with the training thing, there are so many trainers on Instagram.
Yeah.
How do you decide where's the right pool of trainers for you to reach out to, and what's the best way to do that?
So I would say, are you saying like a trainer to reach out to a trainer for like them to kind of show them the back end of the business, or a trainer to reach out to an influencer to like bring them in for like
the latter? So
okay.
You were saying at this point, now you look at everything from a business perspective. At this point, you would say, reach out to influencers. I imagine that, whoever the latest star on Peloton is, when her 1 million followers, is not going to be able to return all her DMs.
No.
So there has to be some strategy, even in terms of how you reach out to influencers, depending on where your company is and what your budget is.
Yeah. So I would figure out budget. How much time can you allocate? What do you feel comfortable? If you're doing an online course and you're going to give that to an influencer, that's going to look very different than you actually having those in-person sessions where they can connect with you as a person. That could be a very easy direct referral than like a nutrition plan or a meal guide. So I think figure out your offering, and then from your target market, figure out who would best suit that. If you're doing remote trainings, okay, then that doesn't have to be just in LA or just in Nashville or New York. If you're only doing in person and you don't have any course on the back end for people who are remote, then you're going to want to find people in your area that, number one, you can afford to spend your time like gifting that to the influencer, maybe, and then you figure out like a program from there, or whatever you want to like gift the influencer. How you find them is going to be based on your target market. So if they're 20-year-olds, they're on Instagram. So I would figure out their content right now, and is this person already fit? Do you want to help them with a full transformation? Are they just trying to tone up? Like, what exactly do you feel like would benefit this influencer?
I see. So you're basically saying like pay for play, like trade. Like you're going to train this person and they're going to talk about you to their followers because they're so happy with your performance. So basically, I guess the question then is, how do you I guess regionally, like what would you literally, because you're saying figure it out, but like if I was going to go on Instagram and look for people in my industry, podcasts, I guess I would search hashtag podcast companies at podcast, various different words using the word podcast, and then see what I come up with. And then some of the things that distinguish these different accounts that I'll come up on is how many followers they have. Is it true in the beginning that you want to target someone who has like a certain number of followers?
Depends on how much your pricing structure is. So that's going to look very different. If you're offering a package that's, 10 sessions for $1,000, there's not a lot of 20-year-olds right now that I know of that can afford $100 per session. So, I mean, you're going to have to tailor your packages to the target market, figure out the influencer who would best represent how much you want people to pay, because there's no point in giving it to.
I guess that's the part I'm trying to ask about then. That's like, so say your target audience is 20-year-olds, that you want a price to afford, you want to partner with an influencer who has a good reach in that area. How do you know that? How do you look at someone's Instagram account and know who they are influencing?
So for me, the way that like I do things for clients is I have a platform on our back end where we have thousands of influencers that have submitted all of their information to this portal. I send out a casting email. So like, this is very different than like someone else, but like I send out a casting email. People will say like, hey, yes, I'm interested for these terms. I'll do XYZ thing. And then we send them over a contract, and that's how I do things. I mean, for cold reach outs, especially for things like personal training, food, hair services, a lot of times like doing a trade could be great, especially in the beginning. What I would do is I'd say, hey, I'm really interested in like know exactly what you're offering them. I want to do a live with you every Tuesday for the next 4 months. Would you be open to this for, this is valued at XYZ price. What is your price for lives? And figure out how you guys can do an even trade. Because if their live cost is $15,000 per live, I mean, that's not going to make sense for you. Maybe you want to do something that's Instagram stories, or maybe you want to do like a partnership on TikTok with them. So you've got to figure out what their pricing is. I always, before we sign anyone, I have them sign an NDA, and we sign an NDA and they send over their stats. I want to know where you're from, like where all your following is from. What's the age demographic? Is it male or female? If this is a girl trying to target female girls in their 20s, and after I'm done with the NDA, I get your stats, and you have 95% males, and they're in the Ukraine or they're in someplace else, we're not going to want to partner with you. So I would really be strategic about the types of influencers you want and why. Why do you want to work with this influencer? Are they relatable? Are they funny? Are they really committed to this journey with you? Like, whatever that is, figure out the types of influencers you want and the types of people that you want as clients. Find influencers based on that, and really go back to like the value of them as a person. Like, are they really honest? Are they really vulnerable? Are they, I would just look into the influencer, look into the stats, and then see what's going to make sense for the money.
Okay. None of my drag queens that I'm DMing are writing me back. That's really where I'm going with this.
Okay.
So let's just be specific. How do I get... for example, on this show, we have... Sorry, trainers of the world. I want to talk about drag queens.
Okay, we're talking drag queens.
I mean, it's going to be the same topic.
Yeah.
It's just, starting a new business, wanting to do things like you're the marketing expert, and this is solid advice. Like, I totally think that once you have the business side of things under control, start to look at those influencers and see how they can help position you. And I'm, with our show here, one of the segments called How to Build a Queen, all about, drag transformations. I want to bring in drag queens, but I've been reaching out to them, DMing them on social media, and they are not writing me back.
So what I would do is I would figure out, okay, why you want them based on their following too. It's going to be pay to play after a certain point in time.
Right.
Like micro influencers are now like asking for payment, which hasn't happened in recent years.
What's a micro influencer?
I'll have to bring up like the exact stats. There's like micro, nano, like a certain type of following. So based on their following, for them to come on a show, they might charge. So
Right.
like expect that. But then also I would tailor your response to the person and why you like them. Email them, especially if you've sent like an email and a DM. People are busy, most likely, depending on who you're reaching out to. They have a talent manager.
Just small drag queens like RuPaul.
Just like really tiny ones that like don't have
Bob the
anything
drag
going
queen.
on. Yeah.
Alaska. Aquaria.
So think of all
kidding.
of the freaking like emails and DMs that they get.
Right, I
Your
know.
one DM is probably going to get lost in the flood. I would send a very tailored message.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't get back to you, I would send them an email and say, hey, you know, if you are interested, this is our sizzle reel. This is what the show is about.
Mm-hmm.
This is how we would get you on the show. Like, okay, you can zoom in. You don't have to actually come here. I would send them a pitch.
Right.
And then based on, I mean, people send me pitches to be on my show all the time. Whether or not they're actually going to come on, I'll read the pitch, decide, okay, is this going to be a good fit? And
Ooh, that's
then,
a good angle actually. You could tell us what are some outreaches that you've received that have really stood out to you?
So for podcast specific, I would say ones that go into detail about what they can offer. Like, I mean, one thing that I don't know if this might be a question later. Oh, yes, it actually is. That's our next question. So should we just go
perfect.
there?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Dear KCM, I want to get booked on podcasts. What are your thoughts? Amazing. So we offer that as a service at KCM Connect. So we do essentially like press outreach. We call them podcast tours. But if you're doing this solo on yourself, I would make a media kit of your bio, talking points for other podcasts that they can ask questions like, okay, maybe you can talk about the fact you sold like $100 million company, or you can talk about like business strategy tips. Like make sure that's all in there. What other shows you've been on or like publications you've been featured. Because before anyone comes on the show and they've pitched the show, I want to hear them on other shows.
Right.
If you were on there and you were their biggest flop guest, I don't want you on mine because like my TBB babes is what we call them. I want them to get like awesome knowledge. So I think, okay, is this person going to fit what I want for the show and my overall outlook? Okay, if it is, then I'm like, all right, you've kind of like checked square one. Now I want to listen to you and I probably want to have a first phone call for you and figure out, okay, do we vibe? Maybe you were great on somebody else's podcast, but when we're on the phone, you lack like passion. You're not very entertaining and I don't mesh well with you. You may be great for 20 other podcasts, but for me, that's just not a fit. And I know after podcasting, if the intro phone call is not good, the podcast is going to be freaking awful. And I'm going to be bored most likely. And if I'm bored, the listeners are going to literally unsubscribe. So
They'll be bored too because
yeah.
they're following you because they think, you know, to some degree you guys relate.
Yeah.
You know, they relate to you.
And so I would do all of that. So for your media kit, just tiny recap, you want a picture of yourself, places you've been featured, shows you've been on, a picture of yourself. That's very important. Your contact info, talking points for what you can bring. Because to be honest, when people get a ton of pitches, I don't have time to go research you and all the things that you do.
Make it easy for them.
Make it easy for them.
And remove all the no's. Remove all the no's. That's what we used to say for booking guests. This is similar to booking guests and news.
Yeah.
You know.
Just like make it so streamlined. Right. So if you, and too, like obviously I do research on them if they're actually coming on the show. But if this is just like a solid pitch, like, okay, then also say your available times.
Right.
Like, don't send this. Like, I was listening to a podcast where they said, it's so funny. All these people pitch me, and no one ever asks for the sale. And that's really like that's the magic thing. Why are you emailing? Like, ask at the end. Okay, I would love, like, give them the next step. Hey, based on your podcast, I think I could discuss these 5 things. Here's a little bit about me. If you'd like to schedule an intro call, that way we can see if, you know, we vibe, our energies match. Let's hop, or if you have any questions, like let's hop on a 15-minute call. How's your next Wednesday looking like? I mean, I would do it like that. It's very like aggressive, but I'm an aggressive person. So I would do like that. Essentially, if you're reaching out to these huge celebrities, they're getting thousands of inquiries. Right. They may get lost. So
that's actually really smart what you just said, because my exposure, if we're going with the drag theme, is to very high profile drag queens. Maybe there's, you know, like you said, like our business is new, we're a startup. So I need to find some startup queens.
Yeah, I would. And that would be perfect because, okay, you're not necessarily, I would assume, yes, it would be great. It's fantastic when you can get on celebrities because they drive, if they post, which you should put in your contract, even like an Instagram story or like tag the shit out of them so they repost. But okay, like you want them on for exposure and knowledge, but there's a lot of other people that have exposure in their communities based on that segment.
Right.
Who's watching now? Who's instantly already drawn in? Like, what do you want them to talk about? And then based on those like kind of key points, then you can be like, hey, actually, I don't need that celebrity. I can have XYZ person who can cover all of these and maybe even better. So I would figure out why you want them and what they're going to bring to the audience in the show.
Got it.
And then when you're going to reach out to them, like I would say create a pitch email, but like make it loose. So
Right.
we have 3 to 5 pitch emails, and I think this is genius, and not a lot of people will tell you to do this, but it's worked really well for me, especially with a new business and you're reaching out to people to be on podcasts, influencers, whatever. Send 3 to 5 emails out. Then see if you have like back-end data to see like how many opens you get, to see if someone's read your email, and see which one comes back with the most responsive, even if it's no. Because there's
Yeah, it's
one
helpful.
that's hitting something, and normally you narrow down the 5 to then your top 3. And then in a month or so, depending on how many you're sending out, if you're sending out 100 or 200 at one point, then you'll be able to be like, okay, these are my top 2. And then you can really like strategize, okay, this one is specifically for drag queens. I want them to talk about ABC topics. And, you know, I'm giving them only Tuesdays to come on.
I'm literally writing down all of this. Like, this is great advice. I mean, this is like putting together a template letter for each category of guest you're booking or each category of outreach that you do. That's solid. It makes sense. Also, people like to think that things have been personalized, you know?
Yeah.
So you can change it a little bit.
Yeah. And I would tailor,
that.
especially if you're asking someone to come on your show, like, and I mean, that's way different than like them reaching out to you,
Right.
like to be on your show. I think like you putting in exactly why you want this person. I followed you since day one, your back days when you were posting XYZ smoothies, and like I tried all of your smoothie recipes, or like I love your YouTube video like back 4 years ago. It was like what it actually inspired me to be a drag queen. Like, I think those like personal elements, if you add those in too, that gives them a reason to be like, hey, maybe this is a good fit. And most likely their talent manager is going to be the person who's answering this,
Right.
or whoever their management is or assistant. And you've got to make yours stand out. Again, follow up. I send 3 follow-ups. Like any type of like, if someone has reached out to us, like especially for like prospecting clients, we send 3 emails and we send 3 DMs. You would be surprised that last email and that last DM. Like I just
Right.
booked a celebrity client who had reached out. She didn't get back to us for that 3rd email though, was like, oh, we got a call booking, and we just booked her.
Obviously,
as a
you
client.
can't tell us who it is, but exactly who is it?
I know. I'll tell you after the show. But that's like a great, like that follow-up. People lack follow-through and the follow-up. So like, let's say one of the drag queens says, oh my gosh, yes, I'd love to come on the show. And then you don't hear from them for 2 months. And you're like, they just didn't respond. Follow up with them. Hey, you said that you were, you know,
Right.
ready. When is going to work best for you? I'm going to follow up on the email above. Hey, circling back here. I know people get busy. Think of how many emails. I literally, since we've been here, have gotten 300 emails.
Whoa.
And that's for different things. Some of them are like spam, but like I get a ton of emails. And so you think like
The people you work with also follow up 3 times.
oh yes, they do. 100%. Yeah. If you don't hear from me in like 24 hours, you need to follow up.
Got it.
But literally you got to do it. People are
Right.
so busy. We've seen so much during a day. That one email that slipped may have been the most important part of your day. They literally forgot about it.
That's so important. Like what you're talking about is just always keeping other perspectives in mind. Like don't think that, you know, just because. Also, another fun thing is not to let no stop you, because
100%.
you know you can keep on trying other things. But yeah, sometimes it's just a matter of not taking it personally, thinking this person is probably, you know, maybe they're stuck on the 101 with diarrhea. We don't know. They're not answering their email.
There's an issue happening.
There's a lot going. They have
Yeah.
a bee in the car.
Yeah, they could.
We don't
You don't
know.
know.
But the point is, if you believe in what you're doing, you're you know, fighting the good fight. Like you're sharing hopefully something that is going to be a win for this person. That's especially if you've done your research, like you said, like if you've targeted people who really are the right fit for what you're doing.
Yeah. And then with that too, if they say, hey, you know what, right now isn't a great fit for me. Hey, wonderful. How's summer?
Right.
And you literally just keep circling back. And it's funny that like you can set yourself, I've done that in my calendar, like people that I want to like follow up with, I'll set a calendar reminder and be like, hey, follow up with XYZ person. And it would have been, I would have never remembered it, like 8 months. And then you'll send it and they're like, hey, actually that's perfect. Let's record next week.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
And so I think really like figuring out who you want, write down your dream, your list of people you want on the show.
Natalie
Manifest
Portman,
that.
Lady Gaga,
Perfect.
Dolly Parton. Done.
Good list.
I just like small people. I'm sure that they can fit it in.
Well, I want to start with the smaller people before I go to my target, like my bigger stars.
So
like,
who is the big star?
who's that YouTuber that just said she was pregnant?
Which one?
Trisha?
Trisha.
Davis.
Stop.
You really?
Trisha.
I'm just trying to be funny. I don't
Oh,
even know who that
No,
is.
but in actuality, if Trisha wanted to come on,
It probably helped.
She probably
we would
would.
definitely be
Probably
down.
be good for us.
She might be down.
She's a hot mess express. She would be straight entertainment. That would be
Right?
like,
I mean,
yeah.
I'd be here for it.
Yeah,
just for the
100%.
experience.
Just for the experience.
So much of what you are about and the theme of what your great advice is hustle. Like you're a hustler. Like I'm in a good way. Like do you leave no stone unturned, no leaf flipped over, whatever the saying is. You just really like people. I think sometimes people think that there's this magic bullet or there's this like, some secret sauce that you just do this and everything's going to be great. The secret sauce is hustle. Like
Yeah.
you got to keep hustling. And I have, honestly, I'll be the first to say this, I have not been good about outreach kind of hustle. Like my career's always been about making content usually that is already sold or for a entity. Now that I'm in this new world, it is really humbling. And like my shit's not working. Like I sent out a letter. I won't say the name of the company, the Drag Closet. They are
And we
online.
send this to them. We're like, hey, by the
I
way,
know.
we're live.
I want to hear.
Did you want to see what happened? Oh, you know what? Is this
Yeah,
interesting?
yeah,
It only
let's
took
go
2
for it.
seconds to do it.
So-
Maybe you can tell me what I did wrong.
Okay, so what was your idea of sending to
I'll
them?
just paraphrase. So my idea was, look, they're in the retail space. Their business is all about selling things to drag queens, like breastplates and clothes and big ass shoes. And I thought, well, I have real interest in drag, culture, and that we have a segment on the show about it. I thought, what if we're talking about them now, so funny enough we're doing this. I pitched them basically saying, actually I didn't pitch them, Austin did, my personal assistant. He pitched, it's me with a fake name.
Love it. Hey, so many businesses do
So
that.
you have to hustle.
Like they have like the fake help desk,
Yes.
the fake customer service.
Yes.
I'm going to forward you to customer service. And you're like hopping over to a different email.
Austin Baxter, second assistant to Mr. Cargill,
Wow.
is who reaches out
Love
for
it.
these little. I'm just joking.
I love it.
It is his name, but basically I said, I was super like great. I know how to book. I mean, I've booked guests for years and my jobs at CNN and stuff. And you just, like you said, you have to know their business, show up. What are you going to deliver? I thought I did all of that, offering them basically for us to talk about their business. And if they liked what they saw, could they embed the link in their mailing, in their newsletter?
Yeah.
Because the reason I know what's going on with them is because somewhere along the way I signed up for a newsletter. Now I get their emails. They were really nice. They got back the next day, said it wasn't a match for what they do, or they passed. They passed. But I'm just wondering if I could have set myself up for better success. If I can pull this email up really quick here, I will just read it to you. Because
I would say probably, I don't know what their newsletters currently look like, but they're essentially giving you free promotion for free promotion. And if you're not doing something that's like live shopping where they could get like actual products sales, maybe based on like the current following, I don't know if they knew anything about your demographic, about like the show, your overall vision for the next 6 months. Like I would also ask to hop on a call because sometimes things can get lost in translation, especially pitches, where maybe it just didn't hit also, depending on who's doing like their influencer partnerships or like essentially their pitch outreach email answering situation. Maybe it wasn't a fit for them. that position could change in 6 months and you reach out again and they're like, hey, it's a
I
perfect
love
fit.
it. You're always reframe context, reframe new perspective. The thing about it is that it's one of the trademarks of a truly successful person is that you essentially don't hear no, you just hear not right now. Okay, I'll be back.
Have you ever watched or read Go for No?
Go for no.
I am going to give you that book.
Oh, all
okay.
right.
So I actually got this sent like years ago, like a person on Instagram. I was talking about like not letting like no essentially get in the way of what you want as your end goal. So they're like, hey, can I send you this book? And I was like, sure. Literally didn't know this person. And they like sent it as like an Amazon gift. I like clicked it and then I put in my address. That way I didn't have to give it to them.
Oh, cool.
And they essentially the book is like, it's a great sales book. It's like 90 pages, super like thin, easy to read. And it talks about counting your no's versus your yeses.
Right.
And like why that's so important is you try to hit the no. So you're going and you're pushing harder and you're pushing harder. And when I say, hey, I want from brands or prospects or whatever we're doing, I want 15 no's this week. And I hit that 15.
You'll get two yeses along the way.
Yeah.
Got
or
it.
5 yeses when you're like, wow, I actually wasn't focused on that number until the end of the month.
It's so they did. I used to work for a bank back in the day when I was in college, Santa Barbara Bank and Trust. Shout out, but they're out of business now. We used to have a no chart like in the back break room where we'd like, how many no's can you get today? And the whole thinking was, well, yeah, along the way of all those no's is a few yeses.
Yeah. And too, you learn a lot during the no process. Why are they saying no?
Right.
And if you figure out that all 10 of them are saying no for the same reason, that should be what you address at the first part of the call.
Right.
And figure out strategic ways to be like, okay, you're saying no because of price point. Is it because I'm not explaining pricing? Is it because you don't understand the value of it? Is it because maybe you're actually the wrong target market and you don't have the money? Like what's the no based around? And then you can restructure maybe prospecting, restructure maybe your pricing. You're like, actually, no, this is the target market. Maybe your pricing isn't high enough. So I think the no's are so important, but I'm excited to hear this email.
I am too. I'm still looking for it. So why don't we go to the next story and then
Okay.
I will find it and then we'll bounce back.
Okay, perfect. And okay, one thing I do want to say before we go into this next question, like don't get discouraged when pitching. I've had that, especially influencer partnerships. For example, I filmed with Mariah's boyfriend a campaign for a brand. When I first got to LA, I went to the Create and Cultivate, which is like a huge, super pretty conference. Not that informational, no offense, but very pretty and very branded. So I was there and I met with this brand and I was like, I love using XYZ product. I'm not going to say what it is. And I would love to work with you guys. And they're like, hey, here's some free product too. Like, great to meet you, yada, yada, yada. I wasn't big enough for them to really care about. 2 years after that, I reached out again, another no. They're like, it's just not a good fit. We don't like the idea. We don't have the budget. Okay, I know how much you actually spend on your influencer partnerships, but I digress. And then they, about a month and a half ago, they reached out to me and said, hey, you're going to be a perfect fit for this campaign. We want you to film XYZ amount of content. And we want to pay you your rate. Like we saved again. That was my thing. And I've said this before is like never send your rate in a rate card. Because they will save that. So because I did want to work with this brand, actually my pricing was totally fine, especially for what we were shooting. And I had added on more for the videographer. And I said, hey, you know what? That was my pricing 2 years ago. I'm happy you saved it. But now what I would charge for this would be like, I need a videographer. I need all of these things, editing time, all of that. And they were like instantly signed, sealed, delivered same day. So
Wow.
really how I think
I feel like
of
there's
it,
a button over there for this story.
ding. Okay.
Dun,
Is there?
dun, dun.
Is it laughter? Applause?
Applause. Good job.
But it's the thing to not get discouraged on, because especially in pitching dream guests you want, pitching, dream brands you want to work with, pitching people to get sponsors, it can be discouraging sometimes, even when you're counting the no's, when you get the millionth one and you're like, today I just really didn't need that. What I do in those moments is I'm like, hey, okay, we need to take a step back and look at all of the great things you did this month. Whether it was you landed all of those other partnerships with your dream brands, or that other person is coming on your podcast, or it is that reframing. Okay, if all these people are saying no, what are you doing wrong here? It's okay to be like introspective. This isn't like, what did you do wrong?
Of course.
It's okay. How do I pivot and how do I tailor?
A no is so much better than nothing.
Yeah.
Because a nothing doesn't help motivate your next step.
Yeah.
You know, but no is like, all right, well, why is it a no? Now I've got some information to work with. What little changes can we make to get the no's to the yes column?
Yeah. And I would say definitely for influencers, that turnover and that market for the positions are astronomical.
Really?
When you, depending on the brand, when you reach out 6 months later, 4 months later, a month later, could be somebody different.
Mm-hmm.
So like always keep that in mind. Like you do want to keep those relationships with those people so good because you never know where they're going to
Right.
go. You don't know what they're going to move on to in 2 months. Like a girl that like I've kept really good communication with has bounced around to some of the biggest companies ever. And like I've kept that like connection really strong. That's super important, especially when people rotate very frequently.
That is good. That's also really good to keep in mind that just because it was a no 6 months ago doesn't mean it is now. That person might not even be working there anymore.
Mm-hmm. And they might be in a new company where you're a perfect fit.
Right. Or if they were like not really pro, like they were what we call in the business an enemy. They're now off to some new company. And so
Exactly.
maybe they haven't, as long as they haven't tainted the waters for you, go back and whoever replaced them, they might be a yes.
Exactly.
I found the letter. You want to hear
Okay,
it?
yes, I do want to hear it. I'm jazzed.
The subject line was greetings from GGT, which means nothing to them. Hi there. We just launched an LGBTQ plus live stream and podcast called Gals, Gays, and Days. Our host, JD Cargill, is obsessed with drag queens and is a bit of a closet queen himself. He loves your online shop, and so we would love to see if there's a way to collaborate. One of our segments is called How to Build a Queen. The premise is a drag queen beauty tips and fashion hacks. The premise is drag queen beauty tips and fashion hacks, and it all leads up to JD performing somewhere for the first time in drag. That's, in case no one knew that, that's happening.
Okay.
If you're interested, we'd love to promote your business on the show. If you like what we do, maybe you could include the link in your newsletter. Here's a link to our YouTube channel so you can check it out. Let us know if you want to schedule Zoom or chat to discuss the possibilities. Thanks for considering. Austin Braxton, second assistant to Mr. Cargill.
So what did they say? It was just
That last part isn't actually on there.
Did they, what is it? What was their response back? And
Their
then I'll give you
response
my
was,
feedback.
your request 8179 has been updated. I'm just kidding. Hi, Austin. Which, by the way, they got back to Austin like the next day, which is nice. Thanks for reaching out to us. However, unfortunately, we aren't doing this type of collaboration at the moment. See, I already know what you're going to say now. At the moment. So that means they might be in the future. Nevertheless, the channel looks cool, and we really wish you great success. Please do not hesitate to contact us in the future. Kind regards, David. So I immediately took that line, your channel looks cool, made a quote from David, and now they're featured as a testimonial on our website. Thanks, David. No, I'm just kidding.
Can you imagine? That'd be so
Channel
funny.
looks cool. We really wish you success. No. So it was really kind. I don't know who David is. The truth is it was a lark. Like I was reaching out on a lark. I haven't really gotten into booking yet because there's so many other things going on right now. But setting us up for success for the future, I did want to start to see what we could get lined up. And so it was just sort of testing the waters.
Okay.
You would do what?
Number one, I would change the subject line. They should
Yes.
instantly know. It shouldn't be, they have no idea what
Exactly.
GGT is or like greetings. Honestly, if I got that, I would probably instantly delete it because I'm like, what are you selling me?
Got it.
And that's where it's like greetings from, or it's like just an email that got sent out versus like influencer podcast collaboration.
Okay. What subject was it? Influencer
Sure.
podcast collaboration.
Oh, sorry. We wouldn't do influencer. We'd be like,
Podcast marketing collaboration.
yeah, or like podcast sponsorship opportunity.
Right.
Something to where they know, okay, this is like something that I actually do need to open because my boss is going to be pissed
Right.
if they ended up knowing and then like that they didn't open the email. So what
Right.
I would do is like, have you ever bought anything from the store?
Maybe
Okay.
that's part of the problem. Maybe they looked up, it was
Yeah.
Austin, but maybe they looked up my name in the sales to see if I actually was a customer.
So
Because I actually haven't bought anything.
So that would
I'm a
be,
fan, but
yeah, I would.
it's always cheaper on Amazon.
I know.
Sorry.
But I would put in there too, like if there's a brand that I've wanted to work with, normally that comes very organically after I tag them because they know that I would spend money on the product. I organically talked about it on my page. So I
Right.
would say, hey, you know what? I have loved this like boutique for 3 years. I have XYZ products. They are phenomenal. This is a little bit about me, and this is what I want the collaboration to look like. I was hoping you guys could provide 3 to 5 items for the next 4 shows for me to use each item and show exactly how I would style it. Like it was, and I think if you pitch them, that's more specific,
right?
Because right there it was so open-ended that like, which is great. But I think asking them like, hey, I want to use these shoes, this, whatever. And they may come back and be like, absolutely not. But I would say like the products you're interested in, why, what you've used in the past, your connection to the company, and how it could like the podcast could bring it value.
Right.
So is this live shopping? Because like you essentially went in there with an ask.
Right.
You want to be offering like them something versus, hi, I want to be in your newsletter.
Right.
It's, hey, what is the brand currently working on? What are your current collaborations? What are you currently promoting? How can I help out with that? I love the brand and I really want to work with you guys. Here are my current ideas, but I know that you guys are really focusing on XYZ spring line. Like
this is so good and so valuable. I literally am going to go back and watch this again and take notes on everything you're saying.
But that's how I would take it, because a lot of times, like I get those emails all the time. People are like, ask. This is want, take. The person that says, how can I help you?
Right.
In that email is so different than like, I want this.
Right.
I think it's great so that they do know what you want.
As long as they don't say, you could stop emailing me.
Yeah, pretty much. They're
That's
like,
what I
"All
want
right."
from you.
I would like this. You've officially been blocked. But I would pivot that to the email, and then your emails that you send out in the future, have your bio already done, your asks for the certain segment, a little bit about the segment, a sizzle reel, and your guys' media kit. Because right now they know nothing about your audience. They don't know, are these people actually going to buy this product?
Right.
Oh, what's your guys' following? How often do you record? Like, when could I expect this to be featured? Obviously, you'd figure that all out, and then your guys' like contract. But I would get really specific, because even when I've pitched certain brands, for example, I met this girl at an event, and we completely hit it off. And she was like, hey, you actually like gave me the idea for like XYZ thing. Do you want to collaborate on this? And I was like, yes, I would love to. But you don't know how those kind of like one-off things could happen. So I would even go in their store if they have a retail store and go try stuff on and be like, oh my gosh, I'm obsessed with this.
Right.
Do you guys do any type of like collaborations? What does your collaboration process look like? They're going to be like, oh no, we don't, like, but here's our marketing manager or whoever that can handle that.
You know what is a great idea for a book for you to write, a marketing book from an expert's perspective, is like scenarios, like scenario 1, or you can even name them. Like this is the how can I help you with that purse scenario or whatever? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like what did you just say? You could show up to their store and be like, you know, who are your collaborators? That's a scenario where you could put together like a bunch of examples of because what people I feel I really learn from is examples. Like this, you saying that makes me realize, gosh, there's so much opportunity if you just have the right language, the right approach, and a little strategy, like what you're talking about. And then if you combine it with that whole go for no, it's really you're unstoppable, because you're going to get a lot of no's. Yeah, you're going to feel accomplished and like you hit your goal.
Yeah, well, and too, if you go in and say, hey, I want to use this as an opportunity to get a paid campaign, or I want to use this as an opportunity to do, I don't know, show we can get this many sales. Like I would easily reach out to a brand and say, hey, we want to feature your home decor behind us.
Okay.
And it's, you know, made by someone who is LGBTQ friendly, or you guys have staff, or there's like something incorporated.
Right.
We want to redesign this space.
Are you writing this down?
Every single week.
Right.
And
that's so smart.
And something like that. And then you can show the products each time, like, oh my gosh, guys, did you see behind us? And then I would do a split screen. I would put their logo on this side or down in the corner. Then I would put a link to everything in the bio. You guys can do it affiliate wise, so they can like embed a link, figure out what products they're selling, or water, something that's going to be up here that you're going to organically use throughout the episode. And maybe you do something fun where like you have a graphic designer, like do a mock label. Like there's so many
Right.
things. Or like, for example, like your phone, the back of your phone, the back of this, that's always going to be up here. Maybe you guys love these blankets or you love your t-shirts. Maybe you work with a screen printing company to do a new t-shirt based on your segment.
Right. That's
So-
I actually have literally thought that thing, except we have our own t-shirt making machine. So I'm like, let's make our own t-shirts.
There you go.
here.
See stuff like that. And then you
Right.
can like turn that into, I mean, there's a million possibilities.
It really is. I mean, that's what you are so good at, Christy, is just rattling off opportunities. like you have a seemingly endless supply of knowledge when it comes to what we can try next, and that's what so much of success in business is just never stopping, always trying that new thing, because in all that effort is when the business comes.
Yeah.
And I believe that, and it's worked for my other businesses. So I have every reason to believe in just a moment my phone's going to be ringing off the hook and they're going to be asking to be on our shelf.
Yeah.
But until we build that audience, please send us some vases.
Well, and up until then, so okay, you're prepping for people to come on the show, and then we will go into we'll go into 3. I promise. People are like, "All right, Christy, knock it off. We don't need to hear your voice this much." Okay, so you want people to come on and be guests on here. Have you guys created like a questionnaire or something that they could submit themselves to be a guest for, like you to post on the YouTube videos and or Instagram or your guys' website?
Mariah, I think she's talking to you.
So prep to win.
Yes,
So
yes.
you want people to come on here? Fantastic. Create a link. Hey, at the bottom of these YouTube videos, put
Wanna
guest
be
on
on the
GGT.
guest?
Oh my God,
Click
I love
here.
so many ideas now.
Yeah, I would
So
do that
many
per segment. So do a different one, and they can click, okay, I want to be on KCM Connect Corner. Hey, I want to be on How to
Right.
Make a Drag Queen. Hey, I want to do XYZ. That way you guys can funnel inquiries, send them off to the proper person with the info, like download it in like a Excel file or whatever makes sense, or screenshot it, send it over to your people. Like plan for success. Like if that's what you want, plan all the tools for it.
You're right.
And
Gosh,
it's
so
super
good.
easy.
You get me so excited. I feel like I could go upstairs and do it all right now. And then I get up there and you're not here. I'm like, wait, what did she say? But now I've got a show.
We got the checklist.
Now I can watch this episode back and
love it.
remember.
Perfect. Okay, question 3. Okay, dear KCM, how to segment out what to put on each platform. So I put this as of today. So this is how I do my personal, so that you guys can kind of see that. I think that that's helpful versus me just doing like some random person. Okay. So if you are new here, I am an influencer. I have another podcast called The Bottled Blonde. I have my agency, KCM Connect, and then I have KCM Connect Corner. So how I would segment all of these out is very different. I treat them all as like one collective house, but different rooms. And the branding in the room, you don't treat all of the rooms in your house the same. Kelly Ressler, who's like an interior designer, would be disgusted. So you've got to treat them all different. So for my personal Instagram, how I segment this out is Instagram is like day-to-day life. You get like an inside scoop on what I'm doing. This is a one-to-one like connection with the audience. They're able to quickly ask me something in the DMs. I can send them a link. If they have a personal question, I always answer, or I try to. Q&As, like things that are more like connection based. And then everything is about aesthetics. So this is way more curated than a lot of other things that I'm going to do lots of editing. So this is going to be like the most time consuming, but also like
Your personal Instagram is the most time consuming.
yeah, I
Interesting.
would say, because we've got the brand collaborations on there. We've got all these other things, and I can see all the other hats that I do as like bird's eye view, because other people are managing the Bottled Blonde account and the KCM Connect account. And I can be more of like a manager versus myself. I am
Right.
managing myself. So YouTube, KCM Connect Corner. This is long form content where we can get really specific on marketing content and detailed ways that I would approach marketing things. I know exactly what's going to be on KCM Connect Corner. Right. And this is zero editing for me because everything's live. On the podcast for TBB, this is super long form audio that is detailed about my personal life versus KCM Connect is business. So I really talk about like my relationships and like maybe business things that are happening, but like lots of beauty. I have my friends on. It's more like notes.
I love that you went in and actually wrote this down. Like, it's almost like, if you have a company and you have a job available, you have to write a position. You just describe the job position. You've gone in and described literally what your different platforms are for, what the tone is, what the look is, you know. And so you really, when those questions are answered, I bet it really eases up a lot of other, it speeds things up, because you don't, I for one, am someone who gets stuck in like perfectionism all the time and trying to, is this like, no, I've already defined it. This is my personal Instagram. This is for people catching up on the inside of my life, like a sneak peek or, you know, bird's eye view. And I do things like what I'm interested in design, what I'm reading, what I'm wearing, what I'm eating, boom.
Yeah.
And if I've had that written down somewhere, it's like, oh, okay, that's what I do on that site.
Yeah.
Now I don't have to, is this appropriate? Is it not? Is this for work?
And then you can kind of like detail your tasks to that. Like for the Bottled Blonde, that's very little editing as well. But I do a lot of front end work. Same with like KCM Connect, because I'm either bringing questions or stories. So I can then segment out, okay, I want the next 12 episodes to include these things,
Right.
which I haven't done yet. But I will. So I'll write down, I want this one about influencer relations. I want this one about like how to build an influencer. I want this one, you know, to do boom, 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 boom.
All right.
And then same with like TBB. That's a little bit more free flowing, but I'm able to say, hey, I can for my personal podcast. That's like an unconventional, like modern woman's guide. So like for the unconventional woman, what does she need? She needs real content. She needs fun content. She needs stuff to where she can hear like my everyday thoughts, feelings about dating, relationships, beauty, health things I'm doing, celebrities, like things that I'm finding interesting as like just me being me is the podcast. And then TikTok is me sharing more. And this is definitely something that's ever changing. So TikTok for me is the most like,
You're probably wise to think of it that way too. Like, don't get stuck in this set. This is set in stone.
yeah, and it can totally change based on, let's say, like for me, TikTok right now, I'm sharing places that I live, cities that I go, kind of day in the life stuff that's very quick, not curated, like home, like things that are happening in my life that I can like make quick videos on, like home decor, thrift shopping. And then the editing is done very quickly. TikTok is not a platform that I need to be on there for a large amount of time and like edit all of these videos and they need to all be perfect and all these things. That's something where I'm making them like rapid fire versus like reels for Instagram. I'm making very curated.
Right. And also this is, I mean, this is your approach and strategy.
Just to mine.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you blew up on Instagram. If you were 5 years younger and had blown up on TikTok, you might have a different thought about it.
100%. And yeah, it's based on like my age range, where my collaborations are at, which are mostly on Instagram, but I'm getting some for TikTok. And that's me being like, I don't know, I have like 17,000 on there, like not very much. So, but it's ever changing, but I think you should make a list. How do you check in with yourself and your platforms and where you're at? What strategy do you have behind them? And like, what are you using them for? Like, you can post all this content. What are you doing?
I ask myself that every single day. What am I even on here for?
You're like, what is going on? And I think too, that gives you like structure. Again, your job duties for each platform are going to be different. And then you can set them up that way.
Whew, it is a lot to think about, but it is really helpful. And it's really good to have, the word you say a lot is strategy. And that's so true. It's a strategy. If you have a strategy, you've considered things. You've really put some thought into it. It isn't just, I'm going to go for this now and not have a plan. I tend to do that sometimes. Like, I get so excited that I put the cart before the horse and I don't strategize. I don't really think like, okay, how is my time going to be most impactful? What are the 3 things I can do today that are going to really speed up the process of everything I'm working on?
I would time block. Do you time block?
I only know what time blocking is because of my my man. Thanks,
My
George.
My
I was gonna say my beau, my man, my George. He time blocking. Yes, he's all about that. Like, this is how long I have to do this. That is a painful process for me.
I need to make that a priority for
Me
myself, but I'm
too.
having a hard time starting.
So write down, this is like good starting. I do this because I wear like a lot of different hats and I have like a lot of things happening. So what I do, which is every night before I go to bed, right now, if I showed you guys, and I will show you the to-do list, it currently has 30 things on it, which is
Wow.
what I wrote yesterday of things that like people are needing from me, contracts, things that I need to do. So on my huge long list that I have, what I do is I will write down everything, like it's right now like 1 to 30. So these are like my 30 tasks. And I need to brain dump, because when you go into possum land, as we call it, you have so many things that you're doing that you're like, oh my gosh, I feel paralyzed. So what I do is I brain dump everything that I need to do. Everything, maybe it's like calling my mom or sending that email, or like maybe I need to do that pitch. Write it all down. Then look in there and say, okay, from this, what are 5 to 7 doable tasks that I could get in Tuesday? And then you rank them by priority. Like I'll put Friday next to certain things, knowing like I can do that on Friday. That's not an immediate need that I need to do tomorrow. That has to be done by Thursday. So I'll star them, and then you can figure out roughly, you know yourself, how long does it take for you to write a template email? How long does it take you to write show notes?
Jeez,
How long
I wish
does it
I knew
take-
myself. Sometimes I think it's going to take me 5 minutes, and I am there 5 hours later.
Yeah.
And it part of this too is just like imposing a little bit of accountability on yourself. You know, that's probably what the time blocking is all about.
Yeah.
Like literally set a timer, ding, like force yourself. I'm moving on to the next thing. That's what I promised myself I would do. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah. And definitely, like, you could sit there and spend 5 hours. You don't need to be spending 5 hours, most likely. Maybe some days you do if you're planning out the next 6 episodes or something like that. Like, put that down, what you need to do, and then figure out how much that task is. Okay, I put in there clean my house, or like laundry. And I'm like, okay, 15 minutes. I know that I've got to remove the laundry, put the soap in, separate the shit, move it to my bed, all of that kind of stuff. So I'll put in 15 minutes. Then when you know you've got your 5 to 7 tasks, put them in your calendar.
Right.
So for me, like my non-negotiables are working out in the morning from 7 to 8 and going on a walk from 8 to 9. No one can touch that. If you reach me before then, expect that I won't get back to you until that 9 o'clock. Because that's my time that I need to myself. And then after that, everything is segmented. I can do stuff before 7 a.m.
I love this.
My therapist would love you. He was just telling me, like, are you taking care of your physical health? Like, that is so important. Like, the way that you prioritize that quality Christy time every morning, like, without, like, I would say it. I would do it for 2, maybe 3 days, and that 4th day something would come up like, oh, Ron, this is more important, and I can't be not taking this call. I need to get my ass home from the Rose Bowl.
That's called, have you heard of the habit loop?
No.
Okay, so that would be like you setting yourself up for a reward so you continually work out.
Right.
Maybe at the end of your workout, you go get your Starbucks that you've been dying
Right.
for. Or you have to cue your brain that you're going to get some type of reward. Otherwise, you won't do that activity.
You know, I read
do
this in
that.
Atomic Habits, actually. That is one of the tips in there, is small incremental change that's rewarded. And I believe that. That is actually how I've made the biggest progress in my life, is small incremental change.
Or you don't have something, like that's how I do my workout. I won't eat breakfast until I've worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
you know that, like, hey, she like does fasted workouts. So essentially, like, your routine is like, okay, you've got to have your routine, you've got to have your reward, and you've got to have a cue. You have to something has to cue you so that you do your routine so you get that reward. If you don't have that habit loop, you're not going to create like a habit. So for me, I know I feel better after that walk. Some days I have to literally be like, you're doing this, all the things. So I cue myself by setting a reminder in my phone. And I set 2 of them on my timer, like, app that says, like, and I know myself very well. I write, go for a walk. I know you don't want to do it. And that's the timer's name. So I'm like, shit. I'm like, God, it's Christy, like, yelling at Christy. So I'm like, all right, I put on the shoes. And you have to set yourself up for success. Like, put your shoes out, put your clothes out. And then when I come home, I'm like having my Nespresso. That's like
Right.
my thing. So if you can like create that loop, then you have like, okay, they say like habits, morning routines. I know people get like sick of these, but I swear to God, there's a reason for them. They work.
I'm obsessed with people's morning routines.
Yeah.
I love watching people do their morning routines.
I
And
do
I love
too.
when you post like today's agenda. I like love that kind of stuff.
Thank you. I know I stopped doing that because what's funny is you'll find out your audience ends up loving certain things that you do. And you're like, God, I don't even really like that. So many people have said, I love when you do your agenda.
I
I'm like,
love that. Because it makes me, I'm like,
It's
oh yeah,
inspiring.
it's inspiring. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I'm
You
like,
know?
I want to get organized. I want to write my list.
People
for
are like,
today.
if this bitch can do it, I can do it.
they probably are. They're like, what are you doing? What do you mean? Yeah. But
I mean,
It is
I-
inspiring.
awesome.
You're inspiring. Like, just as a person, you're a force of nature. Like, it's impressive to watch. I mean,
so
really.
sweet.
That's why I'm so grateful that you're
You
here
do
doing
influence.
this.
I'm so happy that
word
I'm
is
here
true.
to
Yeah.
like hang out with you guys. I
You
love it.
click-
It's so fun.
And
so
you also
much.
have a natural teacher inside. Like, you're a natural born
Yeah.
teacher.
Really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Multiple people have said that. What's so weird is like, I think that's why I probably could never work for anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was like, they're like, but my parents said that from a young age. They were like, hey, you're like the boss.
You were born to be a boss.
Because I was like,
Oh
I
my God, I love
couldn't
it.
like anytime that like bosses would tell me to do certain things, I'm like, okay, well, why are we doing that, and why can't we change that situation? Because that doesn't make sense for the employees
Mm-hmm.
to do like XYZ process. And they're like, this is the way we do it.
I think in first grade they gave us little things. Said, "What job do you want someday?" And I was like, "Supervisor."
He's like billionaire.
I'm like, I mean,
That's so
it's
funny.
so true. But it is. I keep coming back to this. Is that, and I think I'm talking to myself here. It takes practice. Like
It does.
all things, they don't. It's not going to be. Oh, my whole life is turned over. But if you just if we just pick 3 things you said today, like your habit loop, like pause a good habit loop, your go for no's, and your be specific about what you're going to offer that person in a pitch. Just those 3 tips that just came to my head out of the 40 that you've said. If you could just do that over the course of the next month, you would see a shift. You absolutely would.
And it's interesting because I watched a video yesterday all about, it was actually consequently about working out and how we have to. So when you go to the gym and you come back, nothing has changed in your body. You do it the second
True
day.
story.
You go to the gym, you come back and you're like, nothing has changed. We have to convince ourselves that it's not that second day, and it's
No.
maybe not the 30th day. It's the 90th day we see change.
But boy, when you do, it'll hook you. That is talk about a reward. I was in P90X3. Have you heard of P90X?
Yes, my mom had the video, so I was like, huh, where you'd have to like reach twice to the leg.
Huh, huh. So it started off with like the first original workout was a big hit for
Yes.
Beach Bodies Incorporated, based out in Santa Monica. By the time they were doing their 3rd iteration, it was all about 30 minutes. That was the whole thing. And so I miraculously convinced my bosses at CNN that this was a good story for me to go be embedded in. So that's when a journalist goes in and like literally does the thing so that they can report on it. And it was a 90-day P90X. So it was 90 days. They provided all the food and 6 workouts a week. And I had to drive from Hollywood to Santa Monica 6 days a week.
Oh
I was
my
36
goodness.
years old. It was 2013, I believe. I was never in better shape in my life.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I was in pretty good shape in my 20s. And so to hit that goal, boy, it was like, it was such a beautiful, I'd never taken more shirtless photos than that year. All the hiking photos. What's this? Are you guys hot too?
Oh yeah, you're like, hello, I
You're
have
like-
abs. These
my
are my
mom's
abs
like,
saying
it's church,
hello.
mijo. Would you put your shirt on? But I just really felt like that little taste of victory is the secret sauce. Like if there is a secret sauce, it is achieving a goal that you've been working on, feeling the sense that, I did this, and then it hooks you.
Yeah. And it's like something too, I noticed, like for myself, I can't show up if my glass is empty. And if my glass is empty, that means like I'm not taking care of myself. There's not self-care. I haven't had time for myself. Like I have to remember, like, if you've got to show up and be the best freaking podcast host and boss and do all of these things, your cup has to be full. Otherwise, you're giving from an empty cup. You get exhausted. You get irritated. Like, you can't manage people properly because your life is kind of squirrely, which sometimes does happen. Like every few months,
Girl,
you're like,
stop reading my diary.
you're like, my cup
life is
empty.
squirrely. There's a couple of field mouse in there too.
Field mouse, I love it. What about a gerbil?
There's a gerbil, field mice, 3 hamsters, and the whole Kia crew.
Oh, wow.
Those fuzzies are there. But no, you're exactly right. Like it is so easy to get discombobulated and squirrely. Like it's so clear to me, like how routinized, is that a word? Routinized, like you have strong routines. I can tell too, because even in the way that you respond, like you said, who knows? I don't have any routine really. I just work in flow. And sometimes that means I'm sending 6 a.m. emails. Sometimes it means it's midnight. And I've noticed when you respond is like, oh, this must be the time of day that she does this.
Literally all of my friends are like, so I know that you haven't like texted me. When is your time blocking period for texting
friends?
So
exactly.
that I can. But I literally won't. And all my friends joke about it. I will like everyone's messages. I'll read through things, but I'm like, okay, is this like attacking my immediate attention?
Right.
If it's not on the to-do list and that's where like everything is, I will literally time block out like my text messages to my parents. And they're like, I'm happy you have time for us.
They probably appreciate the hell out of it, though. They're probably so proud of you. When it comes to time blocking, like how do you know how much time to give something if it's your first time?
So if it's like your first time,
like panic attacks, how much should I time block for that every day? Because I have at least 12.
You're like 5 minutes. Yeah, only 5 minutes, and then you got to get over
5
it.
minutes to panic, and then you got to get over yourself.
I would say, okay, so for example, like emails. My emails are going to be crazy after this, but it's because we sent out a lot of emails yesterday after being at the weekend. So I know, hey, I'm going to set aside like an hour for emails, knowing I have 5 inboxes for different things that are coming in. So I've got to allocate like 30 minutes to this one inbox that's my personal, where everyone's flooding stuff to. And there's invoices and there's tax questions and there's all of that. That is going to take me longer than the one email that's just inquiries for the podcast, like that I can forward over to my assistant. Like if you kind of try something out and time yourself.
Practice.
So I would practice. So if you're like, hey, I want my, it takes me so long in the morning for making breakfast, for example. That took me way too long. And I was like, I'm not doing this. So what I noticed is it was taking me 30 minutes to make breakfast. I don't have after that 9 o'clock. I don't have time for that 30 minutes to be allocated to something that's not work related. So what I did was I was like, okay, what's something that I like in the morning?
I'm going to get breakfast sponsored.
Pretty much.
Send me some product.
Literally. But I was like, hey, what's going to be easy and is like in my current like food routine?
Sure.
I was like, hey, papayas, and I can throw like blueberries in them. It takes me 5 minutes. I can cut them for me and my boyfriend. Scoop out the seeds.
They always look so good.
They're so freaking good.
Oh, and by the way, posted Instagram story about it.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, and I always see.
Yeah, and I'll post them.
It looks like professionally, like at a resort in Hawaii.
Literally.
Like what you would get.
But they're so easy. You just buy the papaya, scoop out the seeds, throw in the berries, and you're good to go. And then you got your Instagram story that you can all then time block out at a point in the day to post all of those. And like notice if there's points in your routine that are taking too long. Like it shouldn't take you that long to answer emails. Was that a one-time occurrence? Or were you being slow? And I'll ask myself, I'm like, we were slow on that one. Like, what's going on here? So figure out, time yourself. Figure out if that's too long of a period that you're taking for your day. Are there a million other things on your to-do list? Can you cut this? Okay, if it's 30 minutes to make breakfast and you need 5, switch the breakfast. If you're literally taking way too many time like on emails and you have to go to Mariah, and these are all like production or engineering questions, forward them straight to Mariah. Like be like, hey, I need you to answer this. Hey, I need you.
Delegate.
And then you can kind of like then tailor everything.
I hear you. I'm definitely picking up what you're setting down. It's just a practice. It's practice, like getting into the practice of these things and trusting yourself. And then before you know it, the reward you start to see the change, and then you get hooked.
The one other thing I'll like leave people with that I think is so helpful for like teaching others, I guess, as we said, natural born teacher over here, apparently. What I do is when I'm giving feedback to like team members, I record it. So I don't type. I'm dyslexic. I'm not going to spend 20 minutes typing something out. If I could tell you something that we could hop on Zoom for, or I could FaceTime you, I will literally record my phone, be like, hey, I don't like how these Instagram posts are laid out. This is way too dark heavy in this corner. This graphic does not match their branding, and that picture needs to be swapped. I know the founder isn't going to like that. Quickly record on your screen whatever you're doing, or it's normally on my laptop, and I shoot it over to them, and they're like, got it. Then they can also re-listen back to it, and it's a lot easier when you hear somebody versus like, step 1, remove all dark images. Like, I'm not doing that. So that's really helpful for me. And then I voice note everything. So I can say, hey, like, here are my 3 thoughts. I'm in the car, which is normally like I'm on my way to something. So I voice note everyone and I send videos of things. And people say like how much they appreciate it, because then in 2 months they're like, hey, Christy really doesn't like when all of those pictures are together and it looks really dark. Like, we need to spread them out and create like a system to like embed the dark photos, but make it so the feed is balanced.
Got it. You think about a lot of things in a given day. I am impressed as always. Are you ready to wrap? Because I'm going to tell everybody what's coming up next.
Okay, we've got 2 things.
Okay.
And then we will wrap. I promise.
Let's
I know
do it.
this has been a long one today. Sorry,
It's
guys.
actually okay because we're having a special replay on Angelica's show.
Amazing.
So we're good.
Okay, perfect. Our 4th question, dear KCM, biggest misconception about marketing.
That's a good question.
So, yeah, I felt like this was a really good one. I would say biggest misconception about marketing is how much people need to spend on consumer research. And this was going to be the Febreze example that I was telling you guys earlier. So essentially Febreze, I heard this on another podcast. So this is like telephone. If something is wrong, go look it up.
Don't blame us.
Don't blame us.
Also, we're not here in the business of facts. We're here in the business of opinions.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
This is an opinion. Yeah. So essentially what happened with Febreze is they spent like $1 billion on their consumer research. And they were like, hey, people need, and this is when Febreze was unscented. People need like something to spray in their homes when things are stinky. And all of their marketing, which you will probably remember, were all of those videos where like the kid comes home and it's the gym bag that's smelly, and like the cat just took a poop in the litter box.
Right.
And there's like all these things that are smelly around the
I
house.
totally remember when they were advertised that way.
And so they ended up they spent millions of dollars giving out free products and all that stuff, and their sales were trash. They were like, we aren't making any money. What is going on? We spent $1 billion on customer research. This isn't profitable. Like, what we've got to figure out and like actually get down to nitty gritty with the people who are buying this, and like why they'll buy it once, but they're not going to buy it 8 times. Why is that? So habit loop. And what they ended up going to was this lady who had like 12 cats, but apparently her house was pristine. But the marketers were sitting in her house and were like, it smells like actual shit in here. There are so many cats. There are 12 cats. The guy is like apparently gagging. He's like, and he asks her, he's like, do you feel like it smells okay in here? She's like, smells great. I love my cats. Why would I want to like, I don't know, seal their stench? And these guys are like, what is going on? She genuinely thought it didn't smell bad in there. You know, when you go over to someone's house and you're like,
What the fuck?
yeah, they're
they
like,
just have no idea.
you live here and you smell this every day, and they're like, yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah.
And so same thing. A lot of people, when you're in that environment, number 1, don't know that it smells, or 2, if it's not something that should be smelly and thought, like they may not think about it. So they were like, these people aren't using this product. They're using it with like a negative connotation of something.
Right.
It's gross, so I use this. Do you want to buy a product that's like
reminds you of gross things?
Exactly.
Right.
Probably not. So then they figured out, they're like, no, we need to do this because they're spraying this product because they're getting something from it. Like, not removing the odor, it's got to be something positive if we want this to sell more. So they switched everything, all of the marketing, added perfume to it. And what they did was they showed freshly cleaned house and them spraying it. And that was the reward.
It's like a cherry on top.
It was. So like when I make my bed in the morning, which didn't happen today, but when I do normally, like I will totally spray like a rose scented something all over everything and it smells good. Or they showed it in commercials where like people are about ready to come over. Like the house
Why do I
smells
totally
fantastic.
can see you and your schedule and the million things you're time boxing, but she still has time to spray some rose petal spray. I just love that about you because I bet you do it. You like take the time to do those
Oh
things.
yeah. Well, because too, it's like it smells good. You feel prideful of your space. You're like, oh my gosh.
And it's a habit loop.
It is. It's a habit loop. So anytime that I make my bed, I spray that.
Right.
And then you create those routines. So that was something I think that one of the biggest misconceptions is obviously the habit loop and like creating that customer reward and figuring out, yeah, you might have a product. A lot of people think like, why aren't people buying my product? And I'm like, because what do they get from the product?
Right.
You're selling a t-shirt. What's the joy in the t-shirt? Is it a funny slogan? Is it they get compliments on it? Like, do they continuously wear that t-shirt? Are they going to buy a new t-shirt from you? It's really not about the product. It's about the emotion surrounding the product.
Right.
And you've got to create that emotion. And if you don't, they're probably not using the product.
Right.
Another one is influencers, but we'll go into that another day. And our last was, Dear KCM, when designing a website, what process would you take? So our website designers do all like the SEO, the build, how that whole bit. But I wanted to show you guys the process of actually how we created the KCM Connect website. So this is like a quick little like PDF. I like, what is it when we created the website? So this one's like talking all about like the creative direction. And I'm actually going to pull that up so I can actually see it real quick. Give me a second here. So the creative direction. So this is the brand design, the logo, color palette, typography, brand style. And this will all be based on the creative direction. A creative direction is the overall feel that guides the design of the brand together to ensure consistency and the company's visual goals. So when rebranding KCM Connect, what I decided was I wanted neutrals only because in the past, all of our branding was extremely pastel. It was loud. And I was like, you know what? Why do I do this? Because I want the customer to shine. I want to show off the customer, like product and everything we're doing for the customer. Mm-hmm. Why would we be the loud colors when I'm showing off a product and it's distracting? So I was like, you know what? I want it to be neutrals. And two, we wanted to hit a different clientele. So we decided we were going to do neutrals only. So our like mood board vibe, and we put in like keywords was editorial, powerful, luxurious, and modern. Everything we decided around the branding, then through photography, as well as like actual like the hex codes and everything we decided around that needed to go back to these 4 words. Otherwise I didn't want it. So I'm like, if that's not editorial, if it's not powerful, if it's not luxurious, and that's not modern, doesn't get to hang out here anymore. So the mood board focuses on neutral colors paired with bold typography. I wanted it to feel more editorial, and I did a lot of research on editorial, like fonts and different pairings. And I just felt like that was the most luxurious way to do things. So we mixed fonts with simple line shapes. It also offers a creative background that'll let the client work pop, which is what we wanted. Very editorial and luxurious to attract our ideal client, because over the last year, that's drastically changed. We went from doing a lot of like small business, mom and pop type work in the first 6 months to then getting huge brand deals with like Neutrogena, where we're shooting content. And I was like, that's the client that I want because of the budget and everything that I'm able to do with the brand. We just have more options. And so through that, we decided to like choose the logo as well as like build out the brand interface with just kind of screenshots. So first things first, I wanted on the website was our mission statement. That should be the first thing that you know right when you come on the website, which is building brands with purpose and passion. And we're a full service marketing agency. So I wanted to show luxury. I wanted it to feel editorial. And that's how I wanted the interface to be built. So that's just like a screenshot of like an example. And then we went into choosing logo. So at this point in time, I'd chosen our brand mark and our secondary logo. I could not decide on, and this is our shown above in case you're on the podcast. You can come check out our Instagram account. But I loved the brand mark. I loved the secondary logo. I hated our first examples for our primary logo, which is what we were going to be using. So I decided, all right, based on our colors, which we can show next, like what do I really want this like logo to represent? And so here are our brand colors, tons of neutrals like gray, white, and there's like some muted brown tones, a cream, and then our typography, which is right underneath this, which we did a mix. I wanted something that was cursive but legible, something that was really bold, and then something that had a little bit of funk to it. And these all, I felt like, were luxurious, modern, and still very editorial. Then you'll get to see the 3 variations of our logos. And I went back on these for a long time, and I'll tell you why I ended up deciding with the logo that we picked. So this is the first one. All of them have building brands with purpose and passion, KCM Connect, of course, and then full service marketing agency with the ESD 2020. So I liked that one, and I was like, do I like it where it's connected at the top? Because that's like KCM Connect. We're connecting both of those things together, and we'll show you the next 2, and then I'll show you what I actually picked. So this was the second one.
I didn't realize that you just started your company in 2020.
I've been doing it for so many years.
Right.
But yeah, we started it in 2020, and I had a company that did something super similar, and then we closed that company, and then I started this one. So I've been in the marketing space for like 6-7 years, and in doing this for so many brands that like comes very second nature to me.
Right.
But like having my own where I was like the boss of everything, was 2020.
Sometimes harder to make choices for your own company than it is
Yeah.
for others, huh? Mm-hmm. So personal.
So this was the second one, and then the third one, and then I'll show you which one I picked and why. So I actually picked the second one, and I will tell you why. So I wanted full service and marketing agency to be split because we're connecting the things that are underneath it. Like I wanted building brands with purpose and passion to be connected because that's what we do. But full service and marketing agency, it's right in between where you can see that connect. We're connecting those things together. Like a lot of marketing agencies are not full service. They may do like one particular thing, like ads or like social or organic, but we do it all. So we're really connecting the bridge of like you having to go to 20 marketing agencies and coming to one. And that's originally why I picked that one. And then you can see like this is our typical like client experience too. If you scroll down, you're able to see like we'll show you like a mock-up on just plain where you can like see them all stacked together. Like, okay, which one would I like here? And then also on like a product so that we can soft launch you to make products for you. So people end up being like, wow, oh my gosh, I love that bag. Can we get those done? And we're like, no problem. Would love to do that for you. Or we'll do that with like business cards. So that was kind of, that was.
So you ended up going with option 2.
I did. So I split the full service and marketing agency, and we were connecting the gap between the two. Visually, that's what I wanted. And then I went back and forth, and we kind of played with them on different things. We played with them on like mock-ups, and we played with them on like different social assets. And I ended up, a lot of people didn't choose that one, and which is kind of why I chose it. I wanted something that was like a little different, but had meaning behind it. Again, your name for your company isn't going to mean a lot to a lot of people. Like it's going to change and translate into like what you do. It doesn't like, for example, Kleenex. What does that even mean? But we know Kleenex is tissue, like, you know, paper tissue.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, now, but I read when I was naming this company and my last company, I tried to read as much as possible and listen to podcasts and things about how to name things well. And there's all these tips, like you should be able to, it should be super memorable. It should, if possible, say what you do in the name.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one tip that I've really followed, which I don't even know if you know this, Mariah, but I went with the 00, the luck of the 00, Facebook, Google. They listed like a whole bunch of really successful Yahoo sites that use 2 O's.
Yeah.
And so I was like, ModPod.
Yeah.
It used to stand for modern podcasting, but we just,
Shortened it.
And I've really loved it, and it's catchy. And yeah, there's a lot of different theories out there about
naming.
On naming, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, why we essentially created KCM Connect was KCM, I'll always be the founder of the company, and Connect, we're connecting brands with
Right.
like influencers or with social. I mean, so there was, but for me, like that was for my specific company, that was less important versus for a lot of other companies when I'm naming other things, I would be more like specific.
Right.
But I was like, you know what? There's a million like full service agencies. Like, what am I going to make something that's specific to me
Right.
that can still be like, again, the Connect, you got the 2 N's, but I'm sure like the 2 O's when they're together, I could 100% see that as like a visual representation. And then they do like Facebook, Google, they're stacked together. So that repetition makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Well,
Alliterations
guys.
are good too.
Yes,
Yeah.
alliterations are great. Well, this was so fun. So this was our first like Dear KCM. And if you guys have any questions, again, send them over to Mariah, the ModPod team, send them over to me. And we'll do this like once. I'm thinking like once a month if you guys end up liking it.
Oh, they do. I tell you, we got Kristen in the chat says, I love KCM segments. Hi, all.
Well, thanks so much. Well, that makes me happy. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will be live and well with you next Tuesday. Ta-ta for now. We are going to go into a mindful moment.
Hello, hello, hello. We are back, and just for a moment, because we have a very special piece of content to play. Basically, what happened was we like to be transparent here at Gals, Gays, and Theys, and last Tuesday we had a little bit of a technical issue, which forced a segment that we were really proud of and excited for, the Angelica Perman show, all of our sexy psychic to the stars, who is usually here live with us on Tuesdays. But this segment we had pre-taped, and we wanted to make sure that it got some love during our live play. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I proudly present a very special episode all about trusting your intuition with the incredible Angelica Perman.
Yeah, baby. I know what it's like. I know what it's like.
Hi, everybody. I'm Angelica Perman, and I know what it's like to go through all kinds of things in this earth school and come out more connected and manifest your dreams. And so today I want to talk about one of my favorite subjects is intuition and how to connect with your intuition during difficult times. And let's face it, we've all been through it a lot these past few years. And now what's happening in the world. So I wanted to just start by having a little moment of connecting so that you could set an intention. And that's one of the most important things with trusting your intuition is to take a nice deep breath. So we'll start with that. And I want you to think about something that you want to bring into your life. It may be to solve some kind of problem, or you want to have a better relationship with others, with yourself, bring in love. You may want to have another job or a career shift, be more creative, or solve some issue that's been driving you crazy. Because one of the things is that when we're blocked, we're in our minds and we're overanalyzing and we're tripping out and we're thinking about all our fear. So the idea here is for you to really connect and ask for something that you really want. So just take a moment while you're breathing and tune into something that you would love to bring into your life. I have no problem doing that. I always know what I want. And I think that's one of the keys here, right? Is if you know what you want in your life, then you can attract it. And there are spiritual laws we have the 3D laws, and then we have the spiritual laws. And one of them is really familiar to a lot of people. It's the law of attraction. And intention is the place that you start with. So then you draw what you want into your life. And it's not so easy in the sense of you have to be clear first. So I want to share a little bit about my own journey of trusting my own intuition, especially during difficult times. And someone was asking me recently, like, well, how do you do it? And I'm like, I just listen. I truly listen. But it took many, many years to do that. And when you're in a highly stressful situation, it's so easy to get distracted, to be in pain, to be fearful, to be in worry, anxiety, and shut off our spirit, right? So for me, practicing this over and over and over every day, I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? That's pretty much my mantra. What do I say? Where do I go? So I ask these questions in my head. I try not to say them out loud because then I look like Whoopi Goldberg in Ghost. And I'll be like talking to myself in public. So although I don't have a problem doing that. I mean, if I'm going to get an answer from the universe, I am willing. I'm totally willing. I don't care how crazy I look. I want to manifest good things in my life and be of service to other people, right? So getting out of that fear. So when we have stress, it's so easy to shut this down. And when I first moved to when I first moved to LA from the East Coast, I went through a series of what I feel are initiations. It was like one thing after the other. Everything was lined up. I had a new place in Venice. I had a job. I was going to the Groundlings. I had people reading my scripts. I was studying acting and I was auditioning and I was getting my script out. And then all of a sudden, everything shifted. And the place that I was living in, all my money stopped. My job stopped. I left the Groundlings. I had a breakup, everything, one after the other. And I literally was living on $17 a week making soup. Like that's how I was surviving and I was freaking out. So I sat there one day and I meditated and this was my meditation. What the F is happening? I was just like yelling at God. I was like, I need to have an answer. I'm freaking out. And I felt terror. And I was like, I'm going to end up living in my car and I don't even have money for my car payment. How am I going to survive? And I heard this voice, and the voice was, this is an exercise in trust. And I got a download of instructions. Do this, this, and this. So the first thing was I told my beautiful landlord, he was such a nice guy, please keep my deposit. I can't afford to live here. And I gave him 30 days. And then every day I would just kind of sit with this part of myself and just meditate and tune in. And sometimes it would be like I was yelling at God. I'm like, why is this happening? I listened to everything to get here and everything has fallen apart. And then I got an answer one day and it was, this is an exercise to trust super deep in spirit, in God, in the universe. So I remember this moment so vividly. I was shaking, I was crying, I was a wreck. And I was like, please, God, help me now. Show me what to do. I don't know what to do. I've exhausted all my resources. And then the phone rings. I pick it up, and it's a woman I read a year before. I read, and I gave her a reading, and she called me. And I had been here on vacation, and I had been reading people when I was on vacation. So she read me. She called me. And I thought, oh, good, I'm getting a reading. I get some money. And I said, do you want a reading? And she said, no, I'm calling because my spirit told me to call you, that you're in trouble and you need my help. And I just started to cry. I said, I don't know where to go. All my resources have ended. I don't have any money. And she said, you helped me so much. I want to help you. You can move into my place and you can stay there as long as you like. So that's how I started to get out of that difficult situation. And I stayed with her. And then the next intuitive hit I had was to go to Malibu. I just kept getting Malibu. So I would go every day off I had. And I would go there. And I caught, you need to live in Malibu. You need to work in Malibu. And I'm like, I don't have any money. How am I going to do that? It's an expensive place. And so then I would go and I would sit on the beach and I would meditate there. And I go, what do you want from me? Malibu. What am I here for? And then I got some more information. I tuned in go get a job at this store where you can do readings. And I was shown the location. So I go there, walk in. It's beautiful. It's my friend Marie's store that she used to have called Atlantis. It had giant crystals and readings and all this stuff. I thought, oh my God, my intuition's so correct. So I go in and I said, listen, I'd love to work here and do readings. And she said, you have to go through my mom. My mom does all the interviews with psychics. She's worked with every psychic. She's really, really hard, though. She's tough. But if you can pass that test, we'll hire you. So I read her, and she said, hire Angelica. So I was, oh my God, everything's turning around. Well, then the next thing that happened was I go to start my job, and I go into the place, and I show up, and she goes, the girl that's working at the front says, oh, we sold the store yesterday. I'm like, what? I'm supposed to work here and do readings. And I thought, maybe I picked the wrong place. I said, is there any other psychic place around here? She goes, oh yeah, a block over that way. So I check it out. I go to that place. I walk in. I'm like, okay, I know I need to do readings somewhere in Malibu. And there's a guy there. He's wearing a Metallica t-shirt. He's super cool. He's tatted. Doesn't look like anybody that would be at a spiritual bookstore, that kind of place. And I said, hi, I'm Angelica, and I'm supposed to work here. And he was like, I don't need anybody. I was like, that's your problem. I'm supposed to work here. And he probably thought I was super arrogant. I'm like, you don't have the vibe. You don't have the intuition. You're not getting what I'm saying. And long story short, 2 weeks later, he needed somebody. And I went in. I had the interview with him. And he said, Angelica, I wrote everything I wanted in an employee. All 10 things. And you are that. And that's how I moved to Malibu and started my whole life doing the readings and changing everything into all this work, this spiritual work. So there you go. I was freaking out. I asked for help. And then I tuned in. I listened. I followed it. That's all I did. It's really simple, but it's hard to get there. So I'm here in the studio today with JD and Mariah. And, I wanted to ask you guys before I go deeper into this, what I'm saying, like when you've been in difficult times, what's your experience with, do you cut off your intuition? Do you feel like it's hard to get an answer? What do you struggle with to tune in to get to where you're going?
Mariah, you want to go first?
Sure. I feel like for me, when I'm mindful and looking for the intuition, I always get it.
I love that.
But my issue is not stopping to listen to my intuition. That's where my problem is. It's like slowing down.
Busy?
Yeah. Slowing down. And then when I finally am in a routine of meditating often, it's just like constant flow of info in my head.
But it gets overwhelming.
Yeah.
Then the floodgates are open and you have another issue, right?
Yeah.
So highly sensitive people can be like that, where it's just constant. It's just, you can't even stop it. You get the creativity, you get the inspiration, you get the intuition. And some people are so open, they can't sleep, all the things we talk about with being an empath, a highly sensitive person. So that's probably why you get busy, to block it a little. And then you're like, oh my God, what do I do?
Yeah. And how do you decipher if you're picking up like something from somebody else or it's your own like intuition? Because I do pick up like other people's energies and vibes and stuff. So I feel like sometimes intuition can come into that or.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. So one of the things that I do is I breathe and I connect with my own energy, my own breath, my body, my physical body, my emotional body, my mental body, my spiritual body. So I call this, it's actually the other way around. It's called SHMEPs. Spiritual, mental, emotional, physical.
Got it.
Okay.
SHMEP. And you're connecting with your spiritual, your energetic body. So you kind of tune in, what's around me? Is that me? Is that somebody else? Mentally, what are my thoughts? Am I tripping? Like just spinning out, having all these dark thoughts, or is it clear, right? Emotionally, am I just, oh my God, dense stuff, fear, sadness, depression, these kinds of things? Or do I feel more open? Do I feel more clear, more neutral? And then physically, do I have aches? Do I have pains? Am I tense? So you kind of do this little schmep exercise. So you're always aligning with yourself. And, you know, after a while, you get so connected with yourself that when you're around other people, you know it's them.
Okay.
It's not an easy thing. It takes some practice. You know, it's simple but not easy. That's what I want to say about that. So I hope that helps you. But I use that a lot. I've used that with all my rehab clients, you know, and they were like detoxing off of drugs. They have a lot of trauma, all these things. And I would teach them that little thing and they would thrive and they would start to get really psychic. They'd start to really open up to their intuition, get out of fear because they were with themselves. They were understanding where they were, where the other people were, where the past was, where the potential future could be. So what about you, JD?
Schmep.
Schmep.
Spiritual, mental, emotional,
and
physical. I like it. What was the original question? I want to make sure that I answer.
Yeah, how do you tune in when you're in stress? Like, is there anything that you
how
do?
I get grounded and
Yeah,
come
how
back
do you
to center?
so that you can get the answer, the insight, the inspiration? I call that intuition. But how do you come up with problem solving? You know, and do you use your
Truly?
intuition? Yes.
I mean, there's different routes for different. I mean, if it's the morning, coffee.
Oh yeah, coffee makes you psychic. Let me just tell you, it really
10
does.
o'clock at night, cannabis.
Okay, so there are some things that you can do, that you can eat, you can ingest, right?
That help. Yeah, for me, anyways. It's one of those. I'm sort of kidding because, like, you're asking how do
you
we.
are, but it also helps.
It does. Yeah. Sometimes
Right?
the solution, a creative solution, is locked away in my brain and it's not accessible unless I'm. Like, for example, the first thing in the morning when I first wake up and my head is still a little bit cloggy,
Right.
I almost always think of great ideas, like great.
Oh,
This morning I was
interesting.
thinking of thumbnail captions about Ukraine. Of
You're
course.
such a good worker.
And then it goes away, and then I have my coffee, and then I get some more inspiration, and then but in the more holistic way, like the healthier way,
Right.
I definitely use breathing a lot. I go into like. I call them micro meditations.
Oh, I like
And I'm
that.
just like-
Little minis.
I listen to myself breathe in and out and be very deliberate with my breathing. And then usually that will give me a little sense of immediate relief. And then hopefully the next few things that happen are what I want to have happen. But if I'm still feeling out of it and disconnected, then I might just take a break. Get up and walk around. There's sometimes it's
Movement.
Movement that helps me refocus.
Those are all really great. And I love psychic coffee meditation. Like, I do coffee meditation for sure. Pour myself a cup of coffee. I pull cards. I meditate. And coffee apparently does something with the dopamine.
Oh,
so
for
it
sure.
really expands in I don't know the technical thing that it does, but the dopamine gets a hit and you're more, I would say more psychic, you know, because you're more connected. You're more, your mental body is clearer, right? You're more awake. But of course, tuning in the morning, for me, mornings can be kind of stressful. Whatever I went to bed with, whatever was an issue in my life, it jolts me out of bed in the morning.
Really?
Immediately, whatever is unresolved from the day before, I can feel it in my body, and it's very tough. So that's why I get up, I have my coffee, I pull my cards, I do the meditation, I breathe, and then I journal, I'll channel. And so I want to talk a little bit about later the things that you can do to be more intuitive, but the things that block it. You know, what blocks our intuition? And what inspires our intuition. And there are also things that raise our vibration and lower our vibration. So, you know, there's something called the tonal scale of emotion. And so there were certain emotions where they did these tests of the frequencies of emotions. I think they put sensors on a person. I'm not exactly sure how they do that, but they have a tonal scale to them. And that one of the lowest emotions is being, it's not being compassionate, but it's being, what is it? Oh my God, I can't think of the word. What is it when you're concerned for somebody else, but you feel
I've never
it?
heard of that. I've never done that. Empathy?
Yeah, but it's
Sympathy?
Sympathy. Thank you. Sympathy is one of the lowest tonal emotions. And we're taught, be sympathetic. But when we're being sympathetic, we're in their pain. and we're feeling their pain, and then we're blocked from our own intuition. Where joy is one of the highest emotions on the tonal scale. Neutrality is fine. That's fine. You just feel neutral. Like, I'm good. Yeah.
Question. What is the tonal scale?
It's the tonal scale of emotions. So it's a chart that shows the frequencies of each emotion.
I see. And
I wish I had an asset of that, but I don't.
Operating at a higher frequency means that you're at a higher tone?
Yes. So in other words, the
Okay.
denser emotions are like fear, sadness, despair.
Interesting. So,
Right.
and those seem to be emotions that will clog you down, and like
Yes.
it's harder to connect with your open self.
Yes.
Okay,
And
that
anger
makes
is a little
sense.
higher, actually. You think
Oh.
anger is negative. No, when we're in
I've been
anger.
very motivated by anger.
Yeah, we can
I've been
be
very productive
motivated.
on anger.
That's why I could do the FU meditation and do really well with that.
I can
When the
pack
F is
up
coming.
half a house on anger.
Oh yeah, I clean the whole house too.
Mhm.
And so that's the irony is like
Right.
being sad, depressed, despondent, in despair. We're just so in a heavy energy or anxious. But joy, and happiness is interesting because apparently it's because of something outside of us. Where joy is a state of being. So it's a higher frequency, right? So these vibes that we have, when we have a lower vibrational frequency, we're resonating at a place of not tuning into our intuition. And during difficult times, I mean, when you're traumatized, when you're in the middle of something like what's happening in Ukraine, I mean, these people, at any moment, anything could happen to their families. And when we're in a stressful or life-threatening situation, we need to trust our intuition because we don't always have enough time to be logical.
Right.
And that's the truth. There was a friend of mine that once said that in these times that were coming, because they saw a lot of things intuitively that were going to be difficult for humanity. I mean, it wasn't too hard to see with the state of the world. And they said to me, the most important thing is this: there are no safe places, only safe people. So I want you to think about that. You could be in a situation that is life-threatening or a world event of some kind, some kind of act of God, a car accident or a hurricane or something like that. And people that have trusted their intuition or a crime that happens and they saved their life. They got away from a person, a killer or something really dark like that. They trusted their intuition to get out of there. And so there are no safe places, only safe people. And so that's something I want you to think about. How can you be a safe person? By trusting in your intuition, developing that. So the vibe is super important. But if you're in stress, how are you going to do it? Well, you're going to breathe. You're going to ask, please help me. And I go, please help me now, God. Please help me, angels. And I've had divine intervention. So one time when I was driving across country out here, I was in my car and I was driving through Texas and it was rush hour. I was in the left lane of the freeway. And all of a sudden I look over to the left, a truck hits a car and flips and flies through the air and is flying towards me. I'm on my way to LA. I'm like, what is happening? And I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? And I go, God, help me now. And then I saw the guy bouncing around in the truck, and then he crashed and didn't hit any other car. They all stopped. And then, but something flew in front of my car and I hit it. And I had to come to a full stop on the freeway. In the left lane, there was no median. And car after car swerved to not hit me at 70, 80. And I watched car after, God help me now, God help me now. And then all of a sudden, this tow truck drives across, parks in front of me, and this big guy with a cowboy hat and boots comes over, and he puts flares up. He saved my life.
Wow.
And then he pulled out this big piece of metal from the truck that had flown in front of my car, pulls it out, and I said, oh my God, thank you so much. Can I do anything for you? And he goes, and he just laughed. He goes, no. And he left. I maybe he was an angel, It was a miracle. I mean, I would have never been here. I'm telling you what. And so then I went, what do I do now? And I went, okay, I'm going to get off at that exit. Pulled off at the exit, found a gas station. They put me on a lift, looked at my car, no problems. And I drove away. boom. So in that moment, it was, God help me now. I wasn't like, let me do this. What do I do? You know, it was like, okay, just I asked for help. So that's divine intervention. That's when immediately a miraculous situation gets solved for you. So if you're in a difficult situation, in a stressful or abusive situation, or you're afraid, that's one thing you need to do. Ask for help from God. Ask for help from the universe. Align yourself with that. And when you meditate and when you pray, you get so connected to that. It works. I mean, they have studies that people meditate, right? 10,000 people meditated with TM meditation, and the murder rate went down.
Whoa.
What's TM?
Wait, yeah. TM.
Transcendental meditation. So they give you a mantra. I don't practice it, but I know many people that do. They give the person a mantra and they say the mantra in their head and they meditate. So they're super focused on this positive statement or an affirmation, a mantra. And that's how they meditate and calm. And by having so many people meditate at the same time, the frequency changes around them. But all we need is one person to be the highest consciousness vibration in a space, and a solution can happen. So vibe, right? So this is what keeps your vibe low. Okay. I have a little list here of all the things. Addiction, abusing drugs and alcohol. That blocks intuition because your vibration goes down. It clogs your system. You go into more fear, fight or flight. Any kind of codependence or any kind of addiction, because when you're in that, you're not connected. So your frequency starts to go. Relationships that are toxic, abusive relationships can lower our frequency. Fear, of course, stress, anxiety, and music and media that's low vibe, fear-based. Now look, there's times I put on Rage Against the Machine and I love it, but because I use it to channel my anger, right? But that music incited riots.
Did it?
Yeah. There were riots at their concerts.
That makes, I
Yeah.
feel like that rings
Because
a bell.
people were so angry with the powers that be. And I don't know what they did about it, but I was like, wow, that's powerful, right? We can move people with our thoughts, words, actions, and deeds, but music is so potent. And the media. So right now we're being inundated with what's happening in the world. And it's scary. It's frightening. It's upsetting. And that can lower our vibration. People are just glued to the TV set or their phones, watching in real time pain and suffering. The benefit is we now know, our brothers and sisters, what's happening. We can't hide anymore. But if you listen to it and watch it and all day long, your intuition's going to get blocked because you're being constantly given all this other energy that's fear-based. And now look, if someone is a newscaster and that's what they have to do, they probably find a way to chill. Like I had a landlord, he was a newscaster and he was a war correspondent, really sweet guy. And on his days off, he would garden. And he just would always be gardening. And that's one of the things that can raise your vibration is being in nature. That helps your intuition go to a higher place. Exercise, high vibrational foods, alkaline water, being around positive people. We have the power a lot of the times to choose the people that we surround ourselves with. Toxic people, people that aren't out for our best interest, that manipulate us, that lie to us, that are only out for themselves. You want to minimize being around people like that. And sometimes you can't because they're a relative or they're your coworker. Oh, that's my little bowl. But how do you deal with that? Because it's going to block your intuition. If someone's constantly being negative around you, how are you going to tune in? So, Mariah, is there anything that you feel like you need support with to be more intuitive? And then I'm going to go into a little bit more about how to connect more. Think about it, or JD.
Yeah.
It's really about, do you have an issue with trusting yourself and what you get? Is that my mind? Am I cray-cray?
Always.
Right. Because we're taught to not trust ourselves. I mean, by life.
Yeah.
Right.
Unless you were raised in an ashram. I mean, I've met people that grew up meditating And they're really different. They just trusted themselves. They really learned really young how to tune in.
What do you mean we're raised to not trust ourselves?
I feel like most of us were programmed. You need to do this in order to get love, in order to get money, in order to get clothing, your needs met. It's not like we go to children and we say, you were just born and you're most connected to the universe. What do you think? What do you feel? What are you getting, little one?
Yeah, we always hear like you're just a kid.
You're just a kid, right? So we get put in this box, most of us anyway.
Yeah.
Unless we had really open parents or people around us that were guides, right? And so that's part of the stress of a childhood, is that you're like, who am I? What am I doing? And we're constantly being told, this is how you need to be to get love, to survive, to get your needs met. Versus, what do you feel the answer is? What do you get that will help everyone? We have to memorize things in a book, and then we're called, okay, I know the answer. Versus, hey, you know what? My intuition is that I'm not going to use any of this stuff that you're teaching me right now. Can we meditate? We're fed information. And not that information is bad. It's that when it's at the expense of trusting ourselves. And then if you made choices that hurt you, you're like, I made some really bad choices. I suffered terribly. That is an area where you don't trust yourself anymore. People go, I don't trust people. I don't want to be in a relationship anymore. I can't trust anyone because I can't trust myself. I'm a bad picker. Right? Are you picking from a higher perspective? Or are you picking from something that isn't really that, right? Maybe somebody else trying to convince you. When you first meet people, I'm going to suggest something. Whenever you meet somebody, feel how you feel. Trust your body. The body never lies. If your body is constricting, go, why are you constricting? Am I in danger? Is this person lying? Are they trying to manipulate me? Your body's telling you, right? So intuition has many ways that it can come in. One of it is the gut. It's our gut. We feel it right there. We get this, oh my God, I shouldn't get in the car today. I could get in an accident. Or, oh my God, I need to call that person. They're in danger. Something's wrong, right? That gut feeling. Another one is what I've talked about before is claircognizance, mental intuition. This is a harder one because people will be like, oh, well, I just have all these thoughts. I don't know. I just have these thoughts. Where is the thought coming into your brain? Do you feel stressed when you get that thought? Or does it expand you? So that's what I practiced. Because we'll have this voice in our head that goes, be afraid of everything. Everything's going to tank. It's super negative. It's going to be just like the other time. It's never going to be better. Well, that's not intuition. That's our thoughts. That's our ego, right? So the intuition wants to show us the way to get out of those negative patternings. But you kind of got to know that you have them to begin with. So there's something called a brain dump where you sit and you journal and you just write out every thought in your head. And then you look at it and you're like, oh my God, that's the diary of a mad woman. What's that?
You look at it and you realize I need to be medicated.
Absolutely.
Or something.
And it's like everybody's crazy. Just what's your brand of crazy, right?
Right.
And the definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting a different outcome, right? And so our brain will go, no, don't do that. Don't take the risk. It's going to be as bad as it always has been. And our intuition will say, do this now. So there's clairaudience, which is intuitive hearing. And so I have all the intuitive channels open. It's pretty integrated, but that one is a strong one for me because I work with music. And so I'll get a voice in my head. It sounds like me, but it's very clear. And it's stop the car right now. And I've had more than many accidents that were prevented from getting that message at a green light or a stop sign when there's nobody else around. Stop the car right now. Or do not go out tonight. Don't go to that place. And then something happens there. So has this happened to you?
Yeah,
Mariah?
you just reminded me because I kind of forgot about it, but it wasn't only a few weeks ago. And I was at like an intersection and my light turned green and it was like a turning lane. And it turned green and I saw it turn green, but I was like, I can't go yet. And a car flew through the intersection, ran the red light. And I was like, oh my God, if I went. And my boyfriend was in the car. I was like, oh my God. I was like freaking out because I saw it all in real time.
Right.
And it just hit me like, if I went, like, I probably, I don't know what would have happened.
Right.
Yeah.
No safe places, only safe people, because you listened.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the things you want to like actually remember. How many times have you listened to the still small voice inside your gut and followed that, and things worked out beneficial for you? Better than you could have imagined. When it was dark, you know, when the fires were happening in Malibu a few years ago, it was intense. I mean, it was all over LA. It was 100,000 acres were burning. It was everywhere. And it was life threatening. And I was in Malibu, and there was no water. There was no water coming out of the fire hydrants, and there were no fire engines anywhere. They were parked on Zuma Beach. There was no water because there was so much water being pumped out because they were fighting everywhere. There was no water left. I mean, it was crazy. And my intuition was go now and go away from where I wanted to go. I wanted to go where I thought my friends would be. I wanted to check on them. I thought if I go to Zuma Beach, everybody's going to go there. I'll see my loved ones. We'll be safe. The ocean breeze will keep the smoke away. And as soon as I turned that way, all the cars were stopped and it was totally blocked. And I got the insight again. Go right. Get out of here. Get out of here. And I turned right, and it was black smoke. It looked really dangerous going right. And there's a really narrow area on the PCH. And I thought, if there's fire there, I'm done, because there's no way to turn around. It's just cliffs and the ocean, you know, right there. But I listened. And as I drove through, cars were swerving everywhere. It was smoke. It was insanity. All of a sudden, the sky was blue. I drove into like a fast food place and got a soda, and I was like, oh my God, I just survived that. But I didn't know, oh my God, are my friends going to be okay? And then my intuition was like, everybody's going to be okay. And I'm like, why couldn't I stay? I want to help. They stayed. A lot of my friends saved houses and saved people and saved chickens and like animals and horses. And I wasn't there. My intuition said, when you go back, you're going to help the people that are traumatized. We don't want you traumatized. You won't be able to help. And I had guilt, survivor's guilt, but that was my intuition.
Right.
It went past the brain where it's like, no, stay. You got to fight the fires. And the people that followed that, they were okay. You know, my friends saved 80 homes without water by trusting their intuition and digging
trenches.
Yeah. And their health was okay. I mean, they were traumatized, but those were the people that needed to be there.
Right.
I'm a guide. I needed to come back and offer my meditations, my sound baths, my healing, my readings, the positive energy, bring supplies because I could get them. I wouldn't have been able to get anything because there was no power for like, I don't know, a week or 2 weeks or something. I mean, it's real.
It was very scary. I remember those stories. Didn't one of the housewives, or Chelsea Grammer's ex-wife, didn't her house burn down?
Yeah, I used to work with her actually.
Camille Grammer.
Yeah, I used to work with her as a cocktail waitress in West Orange,
Whoa,
New Jersey.
back in the day.
What's up, Camille?
Hey.
Yeah, that's sad, right? Losing her house. That's just such a scary thing.
Oh, yeah.
And before I packed up my stuff, I'm so crazy. I do readings all the time. I'm packing up my stuff. There's smoke everywhere. And I had a card deck, and I pulled 2 cards. And the first card was your darkest fears. I'm like, what? Really? God, you're giving me this card? The whole place is burning down, and like, that's my card. I'm like, I need another card. And the next card I got was, your home is protected by angels. And my neighbors saved my house and all my things. And then the new house I was about to move in, fires burned 10 feet and didn't burn that house. Protection. Tuning in. And you align with these things when you spend time in nature. When you really are a loving person. When you take that extra time to be of service and really be in sync with the universe. Because we're taught to be selfish. I'm going to get mine. I'm a boss babe. I need to take care of me. I need to do me. This is kind of the thing that's happening in the world right now. And so with that, how do you balance, service, tuning in, being a person that's loving? Well, you need to trust your intuition, because sometimes you need to be like, no, I'm not doing that. That's not right for me. It goes against even my heart wants to do this for this person, but I get it's a no. You have to honor that. That can save you years of pain. You meet somebody, you're attracted to them, and your intuition's like, oh, no, turn right around. There's a book that I think Linda Ovitz wrote, and the book was called Hello, He Lied. So if you get that, they lied.
How do we know? He was a man.
Right? So if you get that intuition that they're lying from the beginning, every word is out of their mouth, but you're like, I'm so attracted to them. Right. I want them. And then later you're like, oh my God, why didn't I trust my intuition? So one of the things I want to do today is I want to do a little reading for everyone. And I'm going to do a meditation with my sound bowl. And I'm not really sure where we're at time-wise. I've just been chatting. Okay, cool. Using cards is an interesting tool to assist intuition. And they're physical, right? So we have this invisible force of our third eye, our centers, our intuition, and how do cards work? I mean, honestly, I don't really know, but they work. You put your energy into them, you ask for a message to come, and you learn how to read them properly, and then that assists you. But I do know that if you connect with the deck, that's really important. I'm working on my own deck right now. I'm super excited about it. And then I'm going to teach people how to use the deck, how to trust their intuition more, which is one of the things I love to do. And so I'm going to pick a card to assist the audience right now, whatever you're going through. This is a general reading. If it doesn't apply, then say it's not for me. Trust your intuition. But if you're like, whoa, that's helpful. That really aligns with something that I need in my life right now. So take a nice deep breath. I'm just going to tune in. And with what's happening in the world, with all the concern and fear of war and difficulty, and people still, COVID still exists, and all of these things, economic issues, like people have a lot of stress in their life. So I want to pick something that will assist in getting out of the way and finding a solution to whatever's happening. Oh, that's cool, man. Got the Hermit card. That's the great meditator. The Hermit has a lantern, just like my lantern here, and my little lantern here. So I think that's interesting. So that's also another way you can know that intuition is flowing. You have synchronicities. I got to bring my lantern, and the first card has a lantern on it. Now, people that aren't like spiritually connected, they're like, yeah, whatever. You're just making up stuff. It's always like that. But when you live in the moment and you're connected, this physical reality starts to reflect your intuitive, internal, spiritual reality. We're in a lucid reality here. Our thoughts create things. We connect with things. I didn't know I was going to pick that card, but there it is. So the Hermit is about meditation, going within and letting the heart and the light of your soul illuminate so that you can find answers. It's time to slow down a little bit every day. 11 minutes, 8 minutes, 5 minutes. I don't care how many minutes. Whenever you have a little pause in your work, take some time to tune in, to breathe, to ask for things to come to you, insights. The insights come from the meditation, from going within. And when someone's in a serious hermit mode, they could be in isolation. So isolation would be the dark side of this card. Are you isolating and a lot of stress and not listening to your intuition? Shut off from the light because you're not even able to see it. You're just in your problems. But the Hermit card uses the time alone wisely, uses the time to be shown where they need to go, what they need to do. Because intuition it's not like it's pure magic. It'll be like, you need to call this person now. You need to go to this place. You want a job? Go there. That's how it works, right? But you have to be quiet to hear it and do it throughout the day. I do it all day long. I tune in. What do I do? So the Hermit card, and it says Archangel Raziel. So these are Archangel Tarot cards by Dorian Virtue. And I love it with the number 9. 9 is the number of completion. So in order to complete the cycle, you have to have the wise, sage, hermit knowledge of going within to have the answer and move forward. And then, I'm going to pick another card. Okay. Oh, I love this. So I don't always do upside down, reverse. But in this, I'm going to say the positive and the negative, just so that, you can look at where you're at with it. This is the 6 of Fire. This is the Triumph Victory card. I love this card. So how do you get to victory? Well, this guy, he's riding a horse. He was at war. And I find that interesting. He was at war. There's arrows everywhere. And there's all these kind of celebratory women and throwing flowers all around. He looks pretty beat up. But his horse is upright, strong, ready to go. This is about action. This is about triumphant action. What will bring you to the solution in your life, right? So for me, the first thing with the fires was I need to get away from the smoke and the fires. So I was shown how to get to the light, to the blue skies, right? Sometimes it's just as simple as that. I'm stressed. I'm afraid. I'm in a terrible situation. Show me how to get to safety, right? So this is beyond safety, though. This is triumph. So if you've been working on things in your life and you're like, I have been through many tests, many initiations, war, inner and outer, and what we're seeing in the world, how can we, with the suffering that's on this planet, be more triumphant together by being a light worker, by doing our part? This is what we're doing. We're creating conscious media to support people during challenging times. That's what I can do. I get in my car and I come here and share this with you. And so just being here feels triumphant for me that I got through another day. I'm able to use my gifts. So we've got the Triumph card. And then I'm going to pick from my vintage Oracle deck. Yes. Yeah.
May I ask a question?
You may.
So the first card was the Hermit, which is sort of could be a meditative card. Take a beat, breathe, think about it. And the second card was this great triumphant card. Seems like that could be connected. I mean, those two things sometimes go hand in hand. Is if you want to win, measure twice. Like cut once, measure twice. So stop, take a beat.
Wonderful.
I've been saying that all day. Take a beat. Maybe I need to take a beat.
I had to take a beat. The beat is on.
Turn the beat around. How many?
We got the beat.
3, 4. We can only sing so much of songs.
Beat it. So yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's stop. What is it? Stop, drop, and roll. Stop, drop, and roll, right? Stop. Let me breathe. Meditate. Drop. Drop what you're doing. Tune in. What do you need to do? How do you need to upgrade your action? And roll, baby. How do you roll, baby?
So that's actually that's the hack for putting yourself out of fire.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
In real life, it works. I mean, and the metaphor is when things are on fire, stop,
drop and roll.
I like that.
Yeah, because if some area of your life is blowing up, or multiple areas of your life, and you're so overwhelmed, you need to stop for a second. What's happening? Why is this happening? What can I do about it? Asking the right questions.
Right.
By getting quiet. And then we got the healing card. So I love that. This is a woman that has 2 medicine bottles behind her and pearls. And pearls are wonderful symbology, pearls and oysters. So it's dirt that becomes, I guess I don't know how they make. How does a pearl get made? But it was dirt.
A little granule gets stuck inside the shell in that mucus, and it just stays in there and stays in there, and that mucus builds around it and turns it into a pearl.
Wow.
Oh my God. So that's really interesting.
Natural pearls are really not perfectly shaped. It's usually when you see perfectly shaped pearls, they're called they're basically raised that way. Like the
right, they're like farm raised.
Exactly. They're like the little
pearls.
The little crumb did not get into the oyster on accident.
Right. So sand gets into the shell or a piece of dirt or what have you, and then mucus is formed, and that time creates the pearl.
Right.
So I think that's interesting that we've got these cards leading up to the healing, which comes from, she has a whole strand of pearls. There's a lot of dirt. There's a lot of sand that turned into these beautiful pearls of wisdom, of healing, and what is healing? Really? Whatever malady we have, mentally, emotionally, physically, or spiritually, it goes to another level and we don't have that issue anymore. We are well, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. So there's so many ways that we can have healing. I think most of us know what we should be doing. We should be eating better. We should be getting more sleep. We should be not hanging around this person that's negative. We should get a new job. We should move. Like, we kind of know, and then we block it. We're afraid.
And we were just shitting all over ourselves.
Right. And then we go, oh, wait, but I'm not going to, I don't know. It's too much effort. I'm going to procrastinate. So I was talking to my friend on the drive here about procrastination. And that's a killer of intuition, because we get the insight and there's a timing of when that would be good to do it. And then we don't do it because we're afraid, or we're lazy, or we're tired, whatever. There's a ton of reasons. But this woman, she's got a really beautiful dress. She's got the pearls. I mean, she looks pretty stunning. She doesn't look like she's in a hospital. She looks like she is all about feeling good. That's what I feel healing is, when you feel good.
Well, yeah, she managed to turn dirt and mucus and make it into jewelry.
Yeah.
That's a good feeling. By the way, I looked it up. In a natural pearl, it forms when an irritant works its way into a particular species of oyster, mussel, or clam. As a defense mechanism, the mollusk secretes a fluid to coat the irritant. Layer upon layer of this coating is deposited on the irritant until a lustrous pearl is formed.
Wow, layer upon layer is deposited on the irritant.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's healing, right? Mm-hmm. We have these irritants in our life, these things that are painful, these traumas, these misunderstandings about ourselves or other people. Maybe you need a healing in a relationship. Well, what's going to bring that? Really standing firmly in the light, following the path of self-care, following what we know we need to do to mend that relationship, which sometimes it's just time. That's all we got. That would be my answer. It's my least favorite answer, by the way. Time. What do I do? Nothing.
Just wait.
What? Wait. Be patient. Oh, yeah. I don't need to hear that ever again. But that's something that's important, right?
Don't you feel, too, if patience is something you struggle with, I'm speaking to myself. If patience is something I struggle with, it's probably being patient is the practice that you need to work through that, you know?
Oh,
like, so it's amazing how often life gives you exactly what you need and it feels exactly the opposite of what you want.
Totally. I had a wise person say to me recently, they go, don't pray for patience, honey, because God's going to give you that. Mm-hmm. God's going to give you all kinds of situations to be patient. I'm like, no. Redo.
Right.
Let me ask for something else. So I picked another card.
Okay.
Let's show that. I picked Guardian Angel. And this is like a maiden, a very young girl with the angels around her. And it's interesting because there's some darkness in this beneath her. But she's not tripping. She's just like, here I am. I'm just like trusting. I'm listening. I'm not doing anything. I'm just kind of waiting till I know what I need to do. And then I'm going to follow it.
She's a very lackluster guardian angel.
No, the ones are behind her. The angels are behind her. That's the maiden. That's the person that's us waiting for the answer. She's like in some darkness and she's just a maiden. She doesn't really know. She's not a wise woman yet. That's what's interesting about this card. The guardian angel is coming to the youth, to the person that doesn't have the wisdom yet, that needs the wisdom. And they're behind her. So what does that symbolize?
Grandma. Grandma always knows best.
Grandma always knows. So this is also about connecting with guides. And I want to talk about that for a minute. It's a little controversial, but what are our guides? We've talked about this a little in this show before. Like people that pass on. What if our grandma in spirit is one of our guides? And they come into your dream and they give you an insight and they support you and they help you. I do believe we have guides, non-physical beings that are there for us. I know for sure because of how I do my work. I will see other people's guides. I will see their relatives. I will often see famous people that want to give insight to a person with their expertise after they passed. They become a guide. I will get angelic kind of vibration. I will see it or feel it. And I know it's not me because I ask, what is this? And I'll be like, it's grandma. It's an angel. And I don't know. Have you ever had an experience, Mariah, where you felt a guide, where you felt angels?
Yeah.
And how did you know? Because I think that's important. How did you know?
Yeah. I feel like it's that gut feeling.
Right.
And I've had experiences where I'm like, what is that? But I question it more. And then there are times that I'm like, oh, I know.
Oh, I like when you're like that. That is
Yeah.
sexy, girl. Go with that. Oh, I know.
Yeah.
She just like, her eyes got all fire. She's like, oh, I know. Right. That's where your confidence is.
Yeah. And that's
And
where.
what's the difference? Why are you doubting?
Mm-hmm.
Is it a stressor? Is it circumstantial? Because when it's emotionally connected, that's a hard one. You're like, oh, what do I do about this person? And
Right.
I'm attached to that outcome. I want that outcome so
It's
badly.
real. That's you get a therapist. You get a third party
Yeah, you do.
to say
right?
something on the outside, so that you can't always see it when you're on the inside.
Right, a spiritual guide, a therapist, someone of trust, a mentor, you know, 12-step, a sponsor, someone that actually can be like, here's what I think might be helpful to you, right? But at the end of the day, when we lay our head on our own pillow, we have to make our own choices. And all we have on this planet, really, we have a body, we have time, and we have choices. That's it.
Taxes. Unfortunately.
Right? I mean, there's a lot of things we have to take care of. Yes.
I wanted to add to what Mariah said, or the question.
Yeah,
I want to answer
sure.
the question about
Oh,
how do my guides.
please.
So earlier when you were talking about what happened on the freeway, whether, I mean, I know you're talking about sort of like invisible guides or guides that you can't see but
Right.
you sense. There have been real guides. I think that guy on the freeway maybe was a angel, guardian angel or something in his own way. My mom and grandma, speaking of grandma, in my family, there's this very famous story. My grandma was in her young 30s with like 6 small kids at home.
Oh, wow.
She started losing her hair. It's some condition that is rare, but it happens. And so she started wearing scarves. And I guess the kids were mostly of school age because only my mom and her little brother, the babies of the family, were home. And there was a knock at the door, which is unusual. This is the San Bernardino, California in the 1950s, you know. And this gentleman looked homeless, apparently, and was hungry. And in a Mexican household, you always have beans and rice on the stove, tortillas. Siempre. I was going to say always. And so she prepared a plate of food for him, as anybody who would come to the door, you know. I mean, not that it happened all the time, but anyway, it happened a couple more times where he wasn't full and he asked for some more food, and she just kept accommodating him. And before he left, he said that the affliction that she's currently feeling will be gone in a day. And 24 hours later, her hair started growing back. I just got goosebumps over my whole body.
I want to cry.
I know.
That is
So-
amazing. That's a visitation.
Yeah.
That is a visitation. So I do believe that people can be angels and beings of light can jump into a body, or beings of dark can jump into a body. That's a whole nother subject. So you see someone that's homeless or dirty or, you know, oh, should I trust them? And then someone that's all clean and has a nice car. Sometimes it's the opposite of what you believe.
Isn't
right?
there in some teachings, it's like this celestial being called the uninvited? Have you-
Oh, I love that.
And it's like a homeless, smelly man that comes to a door, and if you invite him in and give them what you need, he's supposed to like give you what you want.
Really?
That's like a thing.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but
Is it like a Salem kind of thing?
it's like one
I'm
of
always
the.
like, where did she learn this stuff?
I just am so interested in
The
like
uninvited.
And, like, yeah,
It's very
like
creepy. I love
pagan.
it.
I know, it sounds like a horror film.
Sounds like
It's
my nickname at every high school party. Oh, the uninvited is here. I'm here,
But
guys.
it's a very dark. There's like very dark stuff behind what I've looked into on it. But if you don't invite them in, it's
Right. So that's the thing,
Yeah.
is these tales, these
Yeah.
wives' tales, or these myths, right? Is there truth to that? And a lot of the times they're an allegory, right? But in your situation, that was a visitation of a being of light. 100%. She must have been suffering about this hair loss and really wanted help. And it was deeply bothering her. It wasn't a little thing. And she just, with an open heart, gave the food without even thinking about it. Well, she must have known that the kids were going to be safe. She got 6 little kids. There must have been some force in her that said, I can trust feeding this person, right? Because if someone is psychotic, you're not going to invite them into your house.
Right.
You're like, oh my God, that person's dangerous. We have to have discernment.
Right. She didn't invite him in. She
Oh,
fed
he
him
was-
on the porch. So he knocked on the door, and she didn't let him in. She just let him sit on the front porch while she went and got him food.
That's
And
cool.
just to be clear, because I always like to be as factual as possible, I don't know how many of the 6 were born. Like, I don't know if just like 4 of them were born, or they all.
But she had a
6 were
house of
there.
kids, that
had
she's got to
kids, yeah.
protect. So so there you go. So now I understand. So he was on the porch, but she fed him. She didn't turn him away. And then sometimes we get to turn somebody away. And that's tough. When do you know? Well, you've got to trust your gut, trust your insight. I had something happen recently where someone asked for some help, and my guidance was to not do anything. And I was very upset. I felt sad. I felt guilt. I felt all these things. But when I was speaking with the person, I felt so heavy and drained. And I'm normally not very drained. Like, I don't get drained by people. I immediately felt drained. I immediately felt that there were boundary issues and that my life would just, and I can't. I have to keep doing what I'm here to do. And so in that situation,
Boundaries.
I put boundaries up, and I called a third party and I said, will you reach out to your friend? I don't feel that I'm the right person to support them. There's too much right now with what's going on with them. They need another resource. And then the person reached out, texted me back and said, they found a place to stay. They found a motel and all is well. And you needed to do that. You needed to not take them into your house right now and not take this on. And that's tough if you're a loving person. There's no one answer for everything. You just have to know in the moment. And what will keep you safe? What keeps you safe? It's not necessarily being comfortable. It's not necessarily doing everything you've always done. Sometimes that is the dangerous thing. When we do our go-to, when we go rogue and we go, I'm just going to do what I always have done, we're in danger. Addiction is one of the things. People go back to that. They put themselves in danger, but it's a comfort zone to use drugs, to use alcohol, to avoid things, right? What would be the opposite of that? Doing something one has never done. Get the healing. Go to the uncharted waters, the road less traveled. Now, for me, I always choose that road. And I decided recently I want more ease in my life. So I'm going to pause when people offer me something. I'm just like, yes, let's do it. Moving forward. I'm brave. I'm going for it. And that kind of wore me out. I'm like, maybe I need to sit back and take a little more time before I say yes. And so I've been doing that.
Trusting your intuition.
On another level of it. Because I make prayers and I'm like, oh, this person's, an answer to my prayer. Yes, and more. Thank you so much. But sometimes we get sent the test first. Say no to that. And the thing that we want is right past that. And that's hard because you have to discern. You need to trust your soul even deeper. And as a kind person, sometimes it's a no. I'm getting, no matter how hard I dice it, it's a no. I'm so sorry. I'm not your answer. I just know that. There's just something in me that says it's a no. And that goes against my moral code to support all humans and to love them. But I'm not going to be the answer today. Something else will. And I trust that. And that's important.
Do they get their money back?
There was
The
no,
answer is no. And I'm like, you better dig a little deeper for that answer because no.
there was no money exchange.
I know. I just like to make jokes. That is one of my centering things.
Yes.
Is humor.
It's
Everybody's
really
got
good.
their things, right?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so earlier we were kind of talking about like dreams and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and how that plays into intuition. And I've always, since I was little, had very intense dreams. I would dream about places, things, and then they would come true. I mean, of course, my parents would be like, "Oh, you know, you're just making it up or imagining things." But now that I'm older, looking back, I'm like, "Oh my
Oh
gosh.
no, you're a psychic dreamer girl.
Yeah, and I would see timelines. I would see myself as a child, and I would watch myself
Ooh.
live through things. Would describe a house that I lived in when I was one, only when I was one, to my mom. And then I started struggling really bad with sleep paralysis.
Okay.
And
That's a
now
whole thing.
It's a whole thing. And my mom would tell you, I've scared her so many times with the amount of times in my sleep where I would be moving around, talking not like myself, like trying to get out of my house. They had to
Whoa.
there's all these weird things that's happened, but now I have not had dreams in such a long time. And I don't know if I'm afraid.
Cannabis?
Yes.
Okay, that can shut down the dreams.
Yeah. Is there anything to do to like help bring that back, or?
It's a side effect of overuse of cannabis. Okay.
What's the paralysis part? Like,
Ooh.
Okay, sleep paralysis is, so there's a scientific, they have an explanation for everything that's either metaphysical or scientific. And so the scientific is that there's some part of your brain and that something's happening to you neurologically. Well, the spiritual thing is that there's a spirit that comes in and is trying to kind of get in
And
your
I
body.
always see the same person.
Okay.
And
Wow.
I'll throw this in there. When I have done psychedelics, I also see that person. And they've appeared in my sleep paralysis, and like if I've done shrooms, like appeared then as well.
Are they friendly?
No.
Okay, so you have an energy attachment, my dear.
It's really terrifying, and I can see her in my head, and it's.
is it
Okay.
somebody? Is it somebody you know?
I've never seen them anywhere else in
But
life.
No.
Oh, they're recurring.
Oh,
Yeah.
always coming into my
Yeah.
head.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, we're almost
be
at the end of our show here, but I'm going to say this. Energetic attachments are real. People do have this way more than they realize. And there's a whole number of things that can happen that can bring that into your life. Being really open. I myself am an intuitive dreamer and also had sleep paralysis and all those things. And I stopped having it when I started to learn how to do the golden light meditations and claim my own energy. But it can happen if you're depressed, super anxious. And this isn't to lay a trip. It's part of the journey,
Right.
to keep your vibe high. I do want to talk about spirits, paranormal, and these kinds of things in a whole nother episode because it's a huge thing.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to support you and other people because I know a lot of people that have this issue and it's terrifying, but there's a lot of things that we can do. So the first thing I want to say to you is that you need to practice holding your own energy and say no and tell this being to go. Go. I'm done with you. They're your teacher, but they're a dark teacher. We have teachers of light and dark. Boundaries.
I looked up sleep paralysis, by the way. It's not good.
The worst. My
Sleep-
brother has it too, and he still struggles. He has night terrors and sleep paralysis.
The feeling of being conscious but unable to move.
Oh, yeah.
It occurs
Yeah.
when a person passes between stages of wakefulness and sleep. During these transitions, you may be unable to move or speak for a few seconds, up to a few minutes. Some people may also feel pressure or a sense of choking.
On the chest.
Yeah. This is
Yeah.
a real
it's like
thing.
someone sitting on top of you.
Yeah, I've had it happen multiple times and actually saw, like I'm seeing you guys,
Yeah. And
beings.
it would always be my room.
with my eyes open.
This is like that thing where you hear of when people have surgery and they're not unconscious. And
Yes.
and they see.
Right.
And they feel the pain of the
Right.
surgery.
Yeah.
Oy. That's
So-
like my worst nightmare.
So if you have this, I'm just going to give you a simple solve. If this ever happens to you, inside of your soul, say no. Even if you can't move your mouth, you say no. And you call upon the highest guidance. You call upon Jesus. You call upon your angels. You call upon God. And you say, make them go away now. Because we have a free will. And these beings jump into people's bodies. They cause all kinds of horrible things on this planet. I do a lot
You're
of
talking
clearing.
about like possession, right?
Possession and spirit attachment. It's a little different.
You got to do a
I
whole
saw you
show
get
on
scared.
this.
I saw you get scared. I love you. And this is a
It's
teaching.
because I don't think about it that much, and then when I do, I'm like,
Right.
whoa, I forgot
know.
that all has happened to me.
Right.
It's weird.
So that's a big thing, that probably why you don't want to be so intuitive. You're like, oh
Yeah.
my God, I'm such an open channel. These things jump in, right?
Yeah.
This is a really big issue. People do not realize it. When I've worked in rehabs, I cannot tell you how much I saw this, how many houses I've cleared of entities and energies, how much it's like people get slimed. And when we're open, we're emotional, we're sensitive, we're traumatized, we're bright. Beings kind of want to go into a space because nature abhors a vacuum. So when you're not in your body, who's in your body? Claim your body, claim your energy, claim your light, so that you're your own self and you are your own soul. I have a soul. I am a soul. I have a soul. I'm in my body.
We're fully occupied here. No vacancies.
No vacancies,
away.
honey. Demons be gone. And I mean that.
I have the opposite problem. Not sleep paralysis, but I guess brain paralysis, or whenever your body still wants to be awake. Like I'm fully asleep and fully walking around the house or doing something where you're
Oh, wow. That's a whole other
partner
thing.
too has the same thing.
That's
His is
kind of
really
like
worse.
sleepwalking. I
It
mean,
is.
it really
Yeah,
is. It's like
sleepwalking.
sleepwalking. All right, you guys. So my ride is here and they've been texting me.
That's funny.
So I'm like, 5 minutes. And I tell them like 5 more minutes.
Tell them your intuition told you that there was going to be
Oh
a
my
lot
God.
of problems on the freeways, just to go get a burrito.
Okay, so sorry. Shout out to Marvin. Thank you, honey, for coming to get me.
Also, doesn't a burrito sound good?
Yeah, now I really want to be.
I know. I don't want a burrito. It's good.
We
Dinner
went
time.
over. We went way over today,
We
and
did.
I'm gonna.
It's okay. It's good. I know the guy that runs the place, so we're fine.
So, okay, I'm gonna just send this text, and
Okay, that's hilarious that you're doing that during the show.
I know because he's literally. I told him like 20
I love
minutes
that.
ago
You
to be
care
here.
so
I feel
much
really
about
bad.
people. I love it.
I
See
feel
how
really
much
bad.
she cares.
I do. So we're gonna do a meditation, a little sound bowl meditation at the end to clear. So if anything came up for you in this episode, I want you to consider receiving spiritual support. This is what I do. I do private readings, and you can reach me at angelicaperman.com to book a reading, a private session, a house clearing. And my email's on there, and you just shoot me an email, and I can support you. And I also offer Intuitive Mastery Program, where people study with me for 8 weeks, and you learn all of these things and master them and manifest what you would like in your life. So I use the intuition to support people to have their dreams be awakened and to manifest them into physical reality. So I'm going to play my little bowl.
Before you, because I know that because we went a little bit over, I'm gonna just say goodbye, everybody.
All right,
we're gonna
bye,
end,
JT.
We're gonna end the show. No, I'm not gonna leave. I'm just saying we're gonna end the show on your
Yeah.
meditation.
Yeah.
And don't let perfection be the enemy of fabulous.
Okay. Everybody take a nice deep breath. And I want to send out protection, love, guidance, clarity, healing, intuitive connection, creativity, inspiration onto this planet for people to trust and follow their soul and their spirit, for them to be protected and safe, and to know that they are loved. Thank you, everybody. Have a beautiful week.
Feel it, I have it, I must not give up but get more. I saw it, I said it, I will not regret it. No longer be weak or play small.